Welcome to the
Okay.
podcast, everyone, and thanks for your time, Solinur. For those of you who don't know Solinur, he is an add-on developer. If you've never heard of him, he's the guy who made Combat Metrics, Untaunted, which I think everyone uses, and I believe you also made Constellations, right?
Yes.
Okay, so these are pretty big add-ons. For example, let's see. Combat Metrics has a total of about 3.3 million downloads. That's a lot of downloads, or downloads / people.
Yeah, but you can choose that number, right?
Oh, I suppose. In what way?
You just put out lots of tiny versions, and then people just grab them by a minion or whatever.
Oh, is that how you choose your parse on ESOU UI?
yes, that's how you do.
Okay, we'll cut that in half then. Okay, you got 1.5 million people. I guess.
But I haven't done that really. I mean,
okay, and Constellations is one of the most often used add-ons, I think, not just by players but also by content creators like Outcast, Skinny Cheeks, and pretty much everyone else. And Untaunted is an add-on that I think almost every tank uses. I mean, it's just such a helpful add-on. And I'm not really too familiar with your other add-ons like Improved Death Recap, Pen Test. I have heard of Improved Death Recap. I haven't heard of Pen Test or Group Damage Share. Really?
Yeah, group damage share used to be something similar to Hodo Reflexes in terms of sharing group damage with the same method, and then I was kind of waiting for the author of some library that it uses to send data back and forth to upgrade it a bit so you can somehow manage how different aspects are sent, like then also share ultimate stuff at the same time. But he never got around to do it, and at some point we just then got Hodo Reflexes, and that works pretty well. So I even kind of put group damage share to sleep because I don't even use it myself. So
okay, but you've made quite the impact on, I think, ESO. I mean, Combat Metrics alone is like everyone's always talking about it. Right? Everyone's always using it. Whether it's even PvPers, I think, sometimes use Combat Metrics just to look at what kind of debuffs were on them during a duel or something. PvEers a lot more so in raids or even 4-man content. And, a lot of console players talk about Combat Metrics too, saying that they want Combat Metrics on on their platforms. I guess my question to you as an individual and a player is, what made you decide to make these add-ons? And how did you even get started on these add-ons?
Well, for Combat Metrics, I wanted to know whether Scathing Mage was worth on a Magla when Imperial City came out. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
So we got a pretty small origin story behind one of the most talked about add-ons and one of the most used add-ons in ESO. That's it?
Well, back then, there was FTC, Foundry Tactical Combat, as the main add-on for getting DPS and stuff.
Yep.
But you couldn't see, I think, buff uptimes, at least not in the version back then, I think. So, I was discussing on this page on Tamriel Foundry with some people whether Scathing Mage would be worth on a Templar or not, and we figured we need to know the actual uptime numbers.
Right.
And so I started working on something that could track buffs and uptime. That's, I guess, was the first defining feature, or is even still the main defining feature of why people use Combat Metrics, at least over some other DPS meters that are out there.
Right.
Yeah, and then just went from there, tried to figure out what else can I gain on useful information to just, theory craft and improve myself.
Okay. And that Actually, but also, how did you like get into add-on making? Wait, which was your first add-on? Combat metrics, right?
No, it was improved death recap.
It was improved death recap. Okay.
Which is sort of a similar, how to say, a similar thing as combat metrics in the sense that it just collects combat events, right? So I get this damage and I get heal and
right.
And it displays that. It just displays what happened in the last moments before you died, because it was pretty soon clear that the death recap from Ce-Nex.
Yeah, from the game is very inaccurate, and the tips are very inaccurate.
It's just summing. It's not really inaccurate. It's just not providing the information in a useful way, right? I mean, if it just stacks up or sums up the dots to whatever incredible number, that's not useful. You don't know when the dots happened and if they actually contributed to your death, right?
Right. And I believe PvPers use this a lot, quite a lot. Improved death recap. But I guess my main question right then is, how did you get into just add-on making? Are you a programmer? Do you work with code?
I'm actually not a programmer.
You're not actually a programmer, okay?
No. I'm a physicist.
You're a physicist. That's pretty cool.
Doing my PhD at the moment, and well,
okay.
I sort of know some programming.
Okay.
It's all self-taught.
So I guess all you need for making an add-on is a PhD in physics.
You can also just do it if you're into programming, I guess.
Okay. Basically, you just need to be smart. You know, that might explain why I can make my own add-on. You know, I'm not very smart.
I wonder if you actually could. I mean, you need to be good at logic and structural thinking. Then it's okay.
So would you say anyone can make an add-on?
No, not anyone. You really need to have some. I guess you need to be good at math or something like logic and like formulisms and abstract concepts and stuff like that. Then you're fine.
I think it was Wheels, I think, who said most people could probably make an add-on if they got into it, and they don't need prior experience in coding. But do you think prior experience in coding is required, or would basically help maybe?
It helps because there are some basic concepts that work in almost every programming language, right? Okay. Starting with something simple like, if the value is like this, then do that, and so on, right? The classic if then else concept, and then there are loops where basically you repeat something over and over again, and then you just need to be creative in a way to find out what to do with these building blocks to get what you want. And this kind of problem solving, that's I guess the more complicated part. But in the beginning, just to get some text to appear to show you like which zone you're in or something, I guess most people could do that, and there are tutorials out there that people can get into if they like to try. And yeah, in the end, then for something like combat metrics, it's just a ton of work. I mean, you wouldn't start out, and certainly I didn't when I started out on it, to imagine something like it is now. Just in the beginning, I had some ideas, and while I was working on it, I had some more ideas, and then it grew into a first version, and eventually it became what it is now, right?
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty cool. And you mentioned you are working on a PhD in physics right now?
Yeah, I'm about to finish it. I'm just working on a scientific publication at the moment that I need to get out, and once I'm finished with that, I will just write the thesis, and then I'm done.
Oh, okay. And you are from PCE, right?
Yes, I'm from Germany.
From Germany? Alright, so the best add-ons come from Germany.
There's surprisingly many German-speaking add-on makers. They're not all from Germany, but like the awesome Guild Store guy, he's I think from Austria.
Oh yeah, Shisu's, right? I think.
No, that's
No, wait.
Shizu is,
It's,
I don't know where he's from. Shizu makes PvP add-ons. So Insidiator is the
I
guy.
think Shizu made it's okay, maybe it's not Awesome Guild Store. I think it was Guild Tools, I think.
Yeah,
Guild Tools.
But also like Arya too. No, I mixed him also with someone.
Okay. Speaking of other add-on developers, and you know, this isn't talked about a lot. I mean, we do talk a lot about add-ons, their impact on the game, and you know, a lot of people kind of use them without a second thought, especially on PC. Exactly how many add-on developers are out there, and how big is the community for add-on developers? Because just like there's a community for role players or PvEers or whoever, you know, there's surely a community for, you know, add-on developers. I guess no one really thinks about that. I guess how big would you say it is?
Ooh, that's a tough question. There are a couple, I would say around 15 to 20 maybe, which are sort
15
of
15 to 20,
which are organized on a chat.
Uh-huh.
A little bit, and then there are a few that, well, I've never heard really of, except them uploading something on Minion or ESOU UI, and so I guess it's maybe, well, not more than 50 in total.
15
and most of
or 50?
50.
50,
and
okay.
A lot of them just have like one or maybe two add-ons and didn't even talk to any other add-on maker, probably just utilizing their programming skills that they anyway have, right?
Okay.
So I guess most of them are also just regular programmers who also work in the field, I guess, do some programming somewhere, and yeah, just use the skills to program them in the language that is required for ESOU add-ons. But for them, that's nothing special. They I guess are fine with just getting into that and just doing it.
Somebody commented earlier that you're basically the reason why players want to transfer to PC from console. So, and you said that there's like 50 people, about 50 people in the add-on developing community. Doesn't that kind of scare you that there's so few people? And the game, I mean, at least on PC, a lot, like, you have basically potentially millions of people depend on you guys. Doesn't that kind of just, I mean, if one of you like quits the game or leaves the game, what usually happens? Like, let's say you quit the game. I mean, I'm not saying you're gonna quit the game or anything, but let's say you quit the game. Who's gonna, like, what happens to combat metrics? What happens to you know, all these add-ons?
Well, usually if something like that happens, that an add-on that you like to use or that many people like to use gets abandoned and breaks, then someone else comes along and fixes it. So it's not like there are 50. That's an upper limit on the add-on creators that can be there. There are many potential add-on creators or people who, if there's a need for it, could step in and program. I guess there are many programmers who maybe play ESOU and have never really programmed an add-on, but if necessary and if something bothers them, so to say, then they will step in and do something about it.
To me,
I mean, that's the main motivation to make an add-on, is that you envision something that could be better and then just try to make it right. Whether that's an add-on that you love that breaks and you wanted to have it working again,
mm-hmm.
or if it's just something new, then, well, that's it.
That sounds very noble, to be honest, but it's still a bit. Well, personally, to me, it seems a bit scary that there's so few add-on developers compared to, like, relatively speaking, compared to like other communities.
Well, but so far we've always managed somehow. I mean, there have been several add-ons that have, like, Dressing Room has, I think, now 3 or 4 different people that took it over time, and people just keep it alive in some way or another. I mean, the good thing is that all the add-ons that you upload the source code, right? So everybody can just directly jump into it and and alter it or copy it or whatever. So that gives a good environment for people to just take it on and keep that alive.
So there's a lot of misconceptions out there about add-ons, I think. Whether it's on the forums or wherever else, that certain add-ons, I think there was a huge controversy, not recently, but a while ago, about, what was it, Miet's PvP add-on or whatever. People were saying
that was one of them. Yeah.
Right. People were saying that it was too good or way too advantageous to have. Like, it would let you know, like, if there was a Nightblade in stealth or something near you, or I forget exactly what the details of that was, but I think what happened after that was the API changed, or
yes.
They changed the API. So I guess, what's your opinion of add-ons in general? Like, do you think add-ons are, I guess, too advantageous, or are they just too useful to kind of not utilize? Or at least for the people who don't have a good conception of add-ons, what would you say is probably the biggest misconception?
Well, I don't know if there's actually a misconception, really. I think, well, add-ons certainly changed the game in some way, and that can be very impactful, or maybe just not so much. I mean, there are add-ons that are just convenience add-ons that show you just some information that you would need to go into menus to retrieve, right? Like just showing your spell damage or whatever on screen directly, so you don't need to go into the menu. And then there are add-ons that show you some info that is not available to people, which give you an advantage, right? Like you mentioned Miet's, which basically just figured out some combat events that happen in the background when some Nightblade or whatever was sneaking around you, and it would read out that this is an enemy in some way or another, and then show you, watch out, there's an enemy sneaking close by. And obviously that's something that goes a bit against the design of the game. When someone is sneaking close to you, you're not supposed to know it. That's kind of the point of there being a sneaking ability, right?
Right.
So in that sense, it's just an aspect of the game that can have an impact. And then it's also, I guess, someone needs to decide. In that case, Ce-Nex needs to decide whether that fits into their vision of the game in terms of game design or not.
Do you
so
ever...
in that case, I think it was good that it was banished, because it was kind of changing the game in a way how it wasn't meant to be.
Right. I mean, I agreed with the API change if it was that advantageous. Although there seems to have been other things in the past that led to API changes. Like, I think people complained that, people in their groups, or like, pug groups, would be able to see how much DPS they're doing. Like, basically, where would you draw the line with that? Between being able to see what other people do in terms of DPS, and then being able to like see if someone's stealth near you.
I personally think that in a game, I'm more for transparency and stuff, so I would be in favor of seeing the group members' DPS, but because I personally wouldn't hold it really against them. I mean, if I just join, for example, a pickup group in a dungeon or whatever, I kind of expect that I can get like players who are new and who don't know what to do exactly. That's fine for me. If I join a group finder like that, then that's something that can happen. That you can expect that. If I don't want that, then I just find some friends that I know are capable and run with them.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm in the case of the group DPS thing, I was more for exposing it. Before ESOU came out, I played World of Warcraft, and there it was kind of a standard, so it didn't feel like something problematic to me. But I guess some people felt threatened and felt like they are somehow exposed and that they get negative backlash because they were not confident in their abilities or whatever. I don't know. It's not something I completely understand, but well, it is what it is, and we have to live with it now, right?
Yeah, right. You mentioned earlier something about ZOS. How often do you or add-on developers do you guys ever communicate with us about like the API or add-ons in general, or is it just sort of like do they reach out to you if you know if they think certain add-ons are like Miats, the case of Miats earlier? Like, what do you guys like find
Miats?
out from the patch notes like the rest of us? Oh, the API has changed.
Okay. Most of the stuff we find out from the patch notes. In some cases where it's not too critical, we get some info about some API changes. Sometimes we wish for API changes that get implemented to make our life easier. Since a couple of years, there has been the lead UI designer sometimes joining the chat room I mentioned earlier, and hanging out there a little bit and responding to questions if you tag him and stuff like that. There is a forum on ESOU UI which they also read, so these UI designers are also active there, and so there's some communication going on, but it's not like we get to know anything crucial about what's going on in the next DLC or whatever, right? So,
right.
And also most of our ideas of what we would like to have either go unanswered or they are clear indication that it's not going to happen.
Well, like what?
Well, I don't know, like crown stores of limits, for example. So anything that makes, even if UI change how the crown store is displayed, is not possible.
Oh,
it's
okay.
basically a black box for us. Also tooltips, we cannot change the top of the tooltip, so to say. So if you look at the skill, like everything that goes until the skill description is fixed, and we can just add stuff below. So there are some limits to that, and they won't change anything. Of course, also like this, we wanted to have some sort of hidden channel or whatever that makes it easier to share information between clients, like basically to avoid the whole mapping situation that you have in Hodor reflexes, and have a more direct way of communicating across different clients. We also don't get this. Yeah.
Someone asked a good question just now, and I guess this is something we should have probably covered earlier. For like, people like me, what does API mean? Because I think we're gonna probably come across some terms that people aren't familiar with.
API, what does it mean? I don't even know exactly. It's the interface, but I would need to Wikipedia to check. It's basically the interface between the programming language and the gaming client to offer up information, right?
And whenever that's changed, you guys have to like also change the add-ons.
Yes, although I have to say in the past years, not much has changed in many aspects of the game. I mean, there are some obvious changes that have been introduced. Like last patch, we got this sticker book. So that's a new addition that wasn't there before, with some functions related to that.
Right.
That, for one thing, we call it ZOS add-on. Basically, it's the main interface. It's also written in Lua, and it's basically also a reference for us to how to work with the programming language, because there's no clear documentation. There's no catalog of functions with an explanation what they do. We just have a catalog of functions, and we need to infer from their name and the parameter names what it's probably going to do and test it.
This all sounds so complicated. You also mentioned Lua or LUA, and that's a programming language for the people who
a programming
don't
language.
know. And how
I think it's called Lua. I don't think it's an acronym for something.
Yeah. And how hard is it to learn, you would say? I tried doing it, and it was like, what the heck is going on, dude? I just couldn't do it.
I would say it's a very simple programming language, because it's very readable. Like reading the code can give you a good idea what is happening there. At least if it's properly written. Then you really see almost like English sentences, right? If spell damage is bigger than spell crit, then show warning or something like that, right?
Right.
This is almost a sentence that you can read, and then you understand what's happening there. Most of source code is written like that, pretty decent to figure out what's going on.
Is there like a...
Yeah. They're definitely way more complicated programming language.
Oh yeah, but for sure. I don't know. I just gonna do it personally. So, I mean, I might have to revisit it at a later point. But yeah. Like, do you? I have a personal question for you. Do you ever get like recognized in game for the add-ons you make? I mean, like I said earlier, not a lot of people think about the people who make the add-ons, right? Like, you know, you can go to ESOU, or you can go to Minion or ESOUI.com and be like, oh, yeah, I'll just download comment metrics or anything. And I do know that some add-on developers, you know, put like donation links out there and stuff like that. So, does anyone ever recognize you for like comment metrics or Untaunted or Constellations? Or
well, a few people, of course.
A few people?
Sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, of course.
but not that well, not that many. There have been people in my raid group for half a year before noticing it.
Okay.
So.
Oh yeah, you have a raid team. You said, right? You have one team you raid with on PCU.
Exactly.
Right. Did they ever just like? I guess like, did they just figure it out one day, or did they just know beforehand?
I don't know exactly. Some people figure it out at some point, but I guess some people have known when I joined already, because two people who invited me already knew that I was add-on developer on comment metrics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they might have been told, but yeah, a lot of people. So if I just join a like daily random or whatever, then I rarely get anyone ever noticing that I'm an add-on developer and did anything there. Also with donations, I guess I got like 5 in total so far.
Oh, okay. 5 donations. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I guess. Well, what's your main role in the game? Is it DPS?
At the moment, I'm DPS. I used to be a healer. Like 4 years ago or whatever. But now I'm just a DPS player. My main is a Makler, which I can't play really at the moment. At least not in the. Well, I play it in dungeons and all. That's fine, but I can't play it in the raid group.
Right.
We're trying to do some content that's tough for us, so I cannot really justify playing a Templar there.
Are you the best player in the raid group?
No.
I mean, you gotta be.
The top 3, I would say.
All right.
But I'm also raid lead, so that's.
Oh, you're the raid lead too.
Yeah, I'm the raid lead.
Oh my gosh! Oh man.
That honor, so to say, fell onto me a couple of months ago, because like it always is, nobody felt comfortable stepping up. So
yeah, right. Raiding is
to avoid the disbanding of the raid group. That would have been,
I mean,
way more annoying for me.
Wow, I don't know, like that. You guys are railing? That's like, you know, if someone does bad, that's like being exposed like 10 times through your add-on, through like ESO logs, through the game. But you've got quite the resume. Like you got a PhD, or you're working on a PhD in physics. You make some of the most used add-ons, and you're a raid lead. That's quite a hefty list.
I'm still wondering whether I can put that on the resume or maybe not. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you. I mean, I think that's something you can put in the resume. This thing.
I guess depends on the job. I mean, if it's something with programming, I think I would put it, I guess. It's a pretty big project by now. Lots of lines of code.
You mentioned you came over here from World of Warcraft. Do you still play World of Warcraft, or do you main ESO? Or
Nah, I completely. I think I stopped even for a year before I started with ESO.
okay.
ESO,
And how long have you been playing?
I think 8 years. So I played it from release to what's called Lich King, right?
Hmm. And how about ESO?
I think something like that. And then yeah, I started with ESO when basically on release, like 3 days earlier or whatever, something like that. And yeah, until now, without interruption. In the beginning, I was a healer, as I said.
Right.
On my Makla, and then later I switched to DPS. There was a time when I was not raiding. I guess that was the time that combat metrics got developed the most.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I was like half in hibernation of playing and just coding. Just do my daily crafts and not much more. Even maybe a dungeon run here and there.
So you've been playing
I guess
since release.
Good for the add-on.
Right, yeah, definitely, for sure. So you've been playing since release, and I believe combat metrics came out in, 2016, if my memory is correct? Around there? Or
maybe I
think it was around
I don't know, maybe I can try
or before DSO? I remember, I don't, like, a lot of people, a lot of people, the game has changed so much since release, or since beta. I mean, since, release, right? It's changed so many times, so much. It's kind of really, if you went back in time to 2014, 2015, and you compare the game back then to the game now, it's such a drastically different game, in my opinion. And I feel like that could be said the same for, add-ons. Like, I don't recall. I mean, I don't know how many add-ons would you say there are on the ESO UI at this point? Like 1,000, 2,000, maybe? I don't know.
Probably, yes, sure.
Yeah, I mean, since release, there's been more and more and more add-ons, and I guess, do you think players have become too dependent on add-ons at this point on PC?
Well, yes, in a sense. If the add-ons would go away now, and we would be forced to play on console, then people would feel that. That would be devastating to a lot of raid groups, and would take a lot of time to get used to. Also, how to do daily crafts. Even though with the last patch there was some help from Ce-Nex for console players in that regard. And all kinds of situations in the game where you, like harvest map or all the stuff that we've been gotten used to. So in that sense, yeah, we have become dependent on them, but I guess there's no reason not to, because there's no indication that the add-ons are going away. I mean, by now also the API is pretty fixed in a lot of regards, unless they start to redesign something, which is then kind of a game design decision. There's no big change to be expected. Like add-ons like Harvest Map probably will work forever unless they change something generally there. But there's no real benefit for us to just change the API around, because it also hurts their own interface in the end. I mean, most of the API is just stuff they use on their own to draw the interface like we see it.
Speaking of, add-ons being updated, or add-ons working forever, I think a lot of people just do it without questioning it. Like every patch or update, they just update the add-ons through Minion or manually through ESO UI. What are the changes often? Is it just bug fixes, or? And I'm familiar that you sometimes for example, like an add-on like Godson, you can just change the version in the file and it'll be quote unquote updated for your add-ons, is it bug fixes or just like version updates?
And most of the necessary stuff is just version updates. Sometimes bug fixes are necessary because of, in case some API stuff does change actually. Depends a bit in which area your add-on works, if that happens more frequently or less frequently. Like recently they did some changes to the interface by adding subcategories that we previously only had with add-ons, right? So all the add-ons that depended on that a bit and displayed some icons there, they needed to adapt because of course there were clashes. Some stuff wasn't there anymore that you expect to be there in your code. But other add-ons just basically bump the number that you need to update to be shown as not an out-of-date add-on, which is really just that. And we're actually trying to get them to drop this feature because it's kind of pointless from the view of most add-on developers. It's really just a number, and you just update it, and it doesn't say anything whether your code works or not.
And I think no, go on. Sorry.
It might have been useful in the early past, maybe in beta times and maybe the first few versions, because then the API was changing a lot and this number made sense, and that you kind of gave sort of a statement that you have checked that. But these days there are so little changes and you don't expect anything to break really. And if there is anything, then you will fix it anyway.
I've noticed that sometimes people at you in ESOU or just kind of list the bugs with comment metrics. I guess is there anything new with comment metrics this patch that you would want to let everyone know about?
No. The last update the last functional update that I made was a bit redesigning this ability panel with the timings. Where I try to give a bit an insight in where your weaving can be improved. Probably one of the most complicated things I've ever done there, actually. And aside from that, there were some issues with buff tracking. At the moment, there are some buffs are not being reported by the API, at least not the normal way, on target dummies. So you don't see, for example, major breach on target dummies, and I'm not talking about the trial dummy here, which obviously can't get it anymore because it has a permanent buff on itself that you cannot override. But also the smaller dummies, they can't get major breach shown at the moment, even though they get it. So there are some combat events that show that they get it, but to use them is always a bit dangerous. I mean, I try to avoid making specific cases for specific bugs because that becomes a headache to maintain. With every patch, I would need to check: did anything change with major breach? Did anything change with minor breach? And so on. Are there any new buffs that I need to implement? Some procs from some new sets or whatever. So I want to avoid that. So I want to have a general system in there that tracks any buff.
Okay.
And at the moment, this doesn't work for dummies with some major minor buffs. Because I think of some mistake they did there that they have to fix. I told them where I see this, and I hope they will fix it.
How much time do you typically invest into your add-ons? Well, let's see. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 add-ons that you made.
It depends. I mean, I can always put more effort in it, and I can also just avoid it for a while.
But life and all
I will always try to fix any apparent issues. I mean, lure errors that pop up and annoy people and stuff. I will always try to fix them, or at least make them go away and find some band-aid until I get time to do a proper fix. But yeah, it really depends. There are weeks where I spend most of my weekend, like maybe 10 hours, 15 hours on a weekend to...
15 hours on the weekend?
To code. It's not that
you've only gotten 5 donations? I don't know, that's charity.
Well, I also want to have it myself, right? So
right, but still.
Technically, honestly, most of the add-ons I do for myself, so I have it and I can theory craft, and check some things if they really check out, and try to figure out also like what's the best way to play. Try to figure out if I can improve something, get a little edge over whatever is out there. And so I have this motivation to do it, and then the rest is just uploading it for everyone to use it as well. That's fine for me.
Mm-hmm. So you seem pretty passionate about ESO. Like, what makes you keep sticking with ESO? Or at least, I guess, PvE. I don't know if you PvP or do other aspects of the game.
Well, my main char is now rank 20 in PvP. That tells you how much PvP I've been doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, to get into PvP, I need to somehow really get into it a bit more, because I guess I'm not the type that can do things just like, I don't know, just go with it and whatever happens. I want to be some way good at it, or somehow know what I need to do. And so I didn't have the time yet to get into that. Also, I kind of dislike being a bit at the mercy of luck, and with the performance that I've been seeing in Zephyrot all the time, that's you risk of just sitting there getting a leg spike or whatever, and then dying, and I would really hate that. So that's kind of preventing me from going there.
Okay. Fair enough.
And what was the question actually?
Yeah, the question was what makes you stick with ESO?
Yeah. Well, one thing is, of course, the people I play with, right? Like most people are, even if they are not playing anymore that actively, most people, or a lot of people, still stick around.
Mm-hmm.
Similar for me, but I really enjoy raiding and pushing myself and trying to achieve something. Okay. And I don't need to be the first in there, so I don't need to be in the best raid group and doing the most DPS on the server, but I want to push myself and improve myself. I want to see an improvement. So that's kind of also the motivation behind combat metrics in the end, right? But also, my reason to play it also. And generally, I like the game. I like the concept and the fighting and the way how things interact. And in some way, I'm also pretty involved with it, right?
Right.
Be it with the add-ons or
the add-ons,
playing it for so long and so on. I can't really imagine just stopping. I mean, I might have to at some point if time doesn't allow it anymore so much. But for now, I'm fine.
Okay. I just wanted to ask because it just kind of ties back into my earlier question about, like, isn't it kind of scary that there's only about 50 add-on developers, and if one of you quits, or if a lot of people quit, like that would kind of be, I don't know, it would take a while.
Well, maybe view it like that. It only requires 50 add-on developers to bring us the add-ons that we have right now.
Right.
But there are potentially maybe thousands of add-on developers out there that could do it if there was a necessity for it.
Right, but that's potential. Like I mentioned earlier, like Wheel said, the other add-on developer, who's also like you, an ESOU professor, he said, anyone can probably make an add-on if they put their mind to it. But we're not really talking about the potential. We're talking about like the current amount, which seems really small, because I think probably it's the smallest community in ESO. After hearing your numbers,
maybe I'm also underestimating it. I mean, if you talk about 1,000 add-ons, I wonder, because it's not that many people make that many add-ons, right? But I would say maybe 50 active. But yeah,
that's a really small number. That's like
that's
like half the PvE rating community.
Number, right?
Yeah, right. And
maybe one needs to just check on ESOU and or ask the guys from there, and how many add-on authors are there registered that actually uploaded something. I think you might even get a user list somewhere there you still know.
What's your favorite add-on? Combat metrics?
Let's say the add-on that I would miss the most now would be Lazy Rig Crafter.
Lazy Rig Crafter. Yeah, that's a pretty big one. And for those of you that know, that's the add-on that pretty much autopilots you through your crafting runs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but that's kind of like now, if I didn't have any information, I would really miss combat metrics in the end, or something like it. It doesn't have to be combat metrics. There are now some other solutions out there that at least give you part of the information. I think Bennett UI also has some buff uptimes and stuff like that. So I might be fine with that for a while, or for longer even. If that were around when I started out, I might have not made combat metrics. So if there's a solution around that I'm satisfied with, then I have no motivation to undergo such a huge task.
All right. So, who's your favorite add-on developer then?
Well, probably the Insidiator, the Awesome Guild Store guy.
The Awesome Guild Store guy.
He's a professional programmer, and he has done a lot of things under the hood to make add-on development more easy, right? He has a lot of libraries that a lot of people use. For example, lib add-on menu, which is basically a really nice framework to put together a settings menu that almost all add-ons use, or a lot of them at least. If you go into your add-on settings, you see a list there, and that list is all add-ons using that library, right?
Right.
So I would say this is probably the person that is most important for add-on development. And he's working on Minion 4, right? Whenever that comes out, I mean, no ETA.
Oh, so Minion is also maintained by the add-on developers? Oh, sorry. The Minion program is also maintained by you guys?
It didn't used to be. There was some guy that was working with the creators of the ESOU UI page, but they had some guy programming the minion for them, and then I guess they parted ways at some point, and now it's done by one of the ESOU Addon authors. Yes, but it's just him alone working on that. As far as I know, and he also needs to do it in his spare time. So it's done whenever it's done. There's no use pestering about it. Although he has, I think, a Patreon page where he claimed if you donate, then he can spend more time on it because he's a freelance programmer. So
that's pretty cool, actually. And Minion 4, I didn't even realize it even needs to be a Minion 4.
Well, the core features that it's supposed to have is to automatically download the libraries you need.
Mm-hmm.
So
right, because we have to manually,
stuff like that.
Right, because right now we have to manually install the libraries.
Yeah, and also deal with some shortcomings that have become known over the time of Minion 3. Minion 3 sometimes incompletely downloads the add-ons, missing some files, which causes issues. Sometimes it gets stuck and doesn't update add-ons anymore. And well, it takes some time to realize that, and often creates a bit of confusion when people come and say this and this is not working, and you as an add-on developer are confused because this should be working or this has been changed like 1 year ago, and the solution is then just that for some reason something got stuck and didn't update for a year. It's always hard to troubleshoot.
Right. Basically streamlining. We have a question from someone in chat. Is there a reason there's a difference in the values from combat metrics versus ESO logs? I think I've seen people ask you this a lot, or at least bring it up at least.
Well, if you talk DPS numbers, one important thing is always the combat time, which might be recorded different. I think ESO logs takes the combat time for the whole group, so you always need to take that into account in combat metrics for the sake of producing higher numbers, which people always like. just looks at your first hit and your last hit and takes the time between those.
Oh, okay. So that explains the difference.
Partially, I guess. I mean, one could also look at the total damage output and see if that matches up. If there are any differences, then yeah, one needs to hunt it down with detailed logs. What is happening there? Pretty tedious, but there can always be something that is missed or shown in ESO logs and comment metrics because they are based on different sources. ESO logs gets a log output that is written to hard disk that is different from what we get with the API. It has different sets of information. Some information is not shown there, like CP distribution, which you can't get on ESO logs. Some info is there which I can't get in the API, like some hidden buffs or debuffs that are simply not reported. Yes, so it's two different databases, so they can lead to different results.
Yeah.
But I think all in all, they are pretty consistent from what I've seen.
So you went into sort of like the very underwhelming origin story about combat metrics, which now has, again, as I mentioned before, over 3.3 million total downloads, which you also kind of mentioned you can cheese. What's the origin story behind Untaunted? Because to me, these are two very different kind of nature add-ons.
I think that was my very brief history of trying to get into tanking.
What was it brief? Why was it brief?
I don't know. I don't do it anymore. I think I tried to tank a couple of dungeons and then stopped because I just didn't have the time. I mean, I mostly just raid and make some add-ons and maybe help out other people with things here and there. So it's not that I'm playing constantly in fights, so to say. And so far, I didn't find the time to follow that to some more extent.
So basically, you just want to try tanking, and you made basically one of the best tanking add-ons.
Well, I wanted to see how long my taunt lasts, right? If you start out as a tank, that's kind of the
right.
First thing that you need to figure out. You need to develop a feeling for how long does your taunt last when you need to retaunt which mob it is. So I put together some helper for me to do that, and then I added some debuffs that a tank needs to keep track of, and then a healer friend asked if I couldn't add this and this and this because he liked the way how it was displayed and how it could track multiple units. And well, at first I was reluctant because the scope was a tank add-on, but then I said okay, I'll do it. And then we got all the other things for healers, and yeah, I kind of finished it at the moment because I added the capability of adding your own ability IDs, which you can always get with combat metrics, right? To track, because I plan at some point to do a buff tracker that kind of supersedes it.
I guess at this point, I mean, there's so many things in the Untaunted add-on here, like Track Crusher, Minor Breach, Major Breach, besides the whole
people kept asking me for, can you add this, can you add this, can you add this? So
right.
Whenever it sort of fits into the support set, into the support meter, I added it. So
I guess at this point, and I don't know if you have the insight for this, I have to ask, well, I guess it's a two-parter question. You know, you and the other add-on developers provide so much quality of life to, you know, like I said, there are potentially millions of players on ESO. It doesn't ever frustrate you guys that a lot of the add-on ideas or concepts aren't part of the base game? Or do you guys just like, is this just like more work for me or something like that?
Well, that's kind of the mindset of a programmer these days with all kinds of systems, electronic systems, right? If something bothers you, you usually just fix it yourself. So for an add-on developer, if there's something missing from or lacking from the base game, and you have a vague idea that you could probably do it, then you just do it and make your life easier, and then you're happy. So there's generally the saying that programmers are just very lazy people, and they only do stuff to be more lazy in the future.
I mean,
it's kind of the main motivation.
I mean, 15 hours on the weekend, this is very lazy, you know, working on an add-on.
Yeah, well, I see the contradiction there. I mean, it's also not every weekend, right? This weekend I almost did nothing. I just started to look into a few reports for missing abilities and constellations, which I need to update. In that sense, Constellations is actually the add-on that requires the most maintenance, because the list of which damage source benefits from which CP is manually created, because there's no API for that. I had to go through every damage ability to collect the data, because in that sense, unfortunately, one has to say those cannot be trusted. They are not consistent. There will be abilities that you find out are benefiting from Thaumaturg when they shouldn't, but they are.
Right.
So you have to check them yourself.
And I guess the second part of that question is, and this is why I mentioned, I don't know if you have the insight on this, why aren't they putting like a lot of these, you know, great add-on ideas and concepts into the base game? Like, why isn't, you know, combat metrics or Untaunted even in base game features for, you know, also console players? Like, what's like, I don't know if you have the insight again. Why ZOS doesn't put these into the game? I know I think I heard this a while ago. There was this housing add-on developer. I forget the name. Oh gosh, I forget the name of this person. But I think they picked them up for the precision editor in the housing base game editor, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
Cardinal.
Oh yeah, Cardinal. Yeah, oh my god, how could I forget Cardinal? But anyway, Cardinal. They picked up Cardinal as I don't know if it's as an employee or an official capacity to work on the base game. So I mean, they clearly are interested in add-on developers in their work. But why? I guess why aren't they putting these into the base game already?
Well, I guess they don't fit their vision of how the base game should be in the end. I mean, when you see how they adapt certain features, they will adapt them to some extent, but they always have to fit in to not be overly complex.
I mean, have you seen the default in-game buff and debuff tracker? That's pretty complex already. I mean,
yes.
It's just like a long line of buffs and debuffs across the screen. I don't know how that's...
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it's simple in its design. If you think about it, it's just one bar. You cannot make 20 out of it and make your screen into a total mess or something. So I guess on some end this is important to them, because whatever you see from them being implemented is always sort of, yeah, I don't know, in some way a bit more simplistic, a bit more minimal. And I think that's the way they want their interface to be in the end. But this is all speculation. I don't know actually. But something like combat metrics, I cannot imagine in the base game ever.
Why not?
Because it's part of it. At least part of it is way too complex. And I think if people remember how FTC looked in the past, that's more like what I imagine them being able to do.
Oh yeah.
Well, not being able in the sense that they couldn't do it better, but more like that's the most they will do, maybe. And maybe also a similar list with buffs that is, you know, combat metrics is designed to show a lot of information on, or as much information on the screen as possible. I mean, I have a little bit a point there that I also want people to share a bit more about what they're doing and in their builds also, which is why there are a lot of sort of revealing numbers in the screenshots that you take, right? Among them being that what your average max magicka or spell damage or the the stamina versions of it are, how much critical percent you have or critical damage. That you can see, okay, if my build is like this, then you could kind of determine that this build is probably better and has a better output, and maybe I should go with that. So it should allow this kind of comparisons. I tried to put this a bit into these screens, into these typical screenshots that you take. That was also a bit a motivation that I had at some point.
Okay.
And this much information on the screen, if you look through the base interface, is very... You don't see this, right? If you look through the inventory, you just see like 10 items at a time or something like that in the base inventory. And so the general design that they follow, I don't really see them of showing something as complex as combat metrics. For Untaunted, at least what I could imagine if they wanted to do that is like show some sort of marker, something more visible, like they show with buffs partially as well, right? Like you see some effect like Major Breach or Elemental Drain, these particles swirling around the enemy. So you could show also some symbol over their head or whatever, right? I don't know if they...
There actually is a visual effect.
I didn't know.
It's like a red mist kind of thing. Actually, I'll show it right now on the stream. So if I'm to taunt this NPC, there's like a red misty aura coming out from the head.
Yeah, around the head.
Yeah, true. But that's like, I mean, with all the visual effects.
That's how console players play in the end.
Right. But with all the visual effects around you in a raid or something, it's kind of hard to notice that. Which is why, you know,
I know.
Me and other people who play tanks really love the add-on you made for Untaunted. This is so much easier.
Yeah, so I guess one is their vision, and the other thing is, well, unless they're too bothered by it, like they were with Miats or with the group damage stuff.
Right.
They also don't have the time to do anything about it. So, because making it in a way that Untaunted doesn't work, but their buff tracker still works, would be quite some work for them, I think.
I just think they should definitely, I know, bring you or someone in to like fix that buff and debuff tracker. It's just horrendous. I mean, I say this all the time, but I watch like other people play ESOU and some of the more console players, and it's just horrendous. Like,
well, I disabled it because I did some tests and I found it reduces my FPS too much.
Right, exactly. And I actually remember when they first announced it when they released it, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, finally I can get rid of like one add-on. And then when they released it, I tried. I was like, okay, well, this is probably not the way to go. And you mentioned, as part of your speculation as to why they don't put in like a lot of these add-ons like combat metrics or whatever into the base game. They want to have their own vision of the game and not have too complicated things. I guess, what do you think should be? What do you think they should prioritize next? Like to put in the game, because we do have precedents. Like I mentioned, Cardinal going to ZOS and then making the housing precision editor. We do have multi-craft now as part of the base game. And with this update with Minecart DLC, they did update the inventory and the crafting UI. I guess, in your opinion, what do you think they should put in next, or combat related?
Oh, I don't know. I would love to see them bringing more clarity to combat, that you might need less add-ons or make it easier for the console people. Certainly would love maybe them going a bit out of their comfort zone, at least of what they have been doing so far, to show the visual aspects a bit more clearly, because like you just showed, this red mist gets totally lost in a raid situation.
Right.
So that would be my wish, so to say, but I don't really see that they plan to go there. I mean, I don't know how. It always depends also on how much time they have on their hands to do stuff like that, because new content might demand a lot of contribution from the respective teams to implement that stuff, right? I mean, when they did the scrying stuff and so on, obviously they had to build something that allows us to do that actions, right? Scrying and excavating. So the teams were then, I guess, pretty busy with making that.
Okay, so we did hear the origin story behind combat metrics and Untaunted, and a little bit about what is it? Improved death recap. What's the origin story behind constellations? And this is again a add-on that a lot of people use, not just players but also content creators too, like people from ESOU. Why did you decide to develop constellations? It says here as part of the description, optimizing DPS can be a rather complicated affair. While browser-based CP calculators are available, they still require you to get a parse, analyze it, and enter the data manually. So I guess, in that sense, you're, I think you touched on this, the laziness of the programmer. Like you just want like a shortcut. Is that why you made constellations?
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to have a shortcut. I mean, the history behind constellations is a bit that they redesigned the champion point system at some point. And back then, people were trying to figure out how it works. So there were some people who went testing on PTS or something and checked out some first marks, and then I used that data to figure out the actual formulas behind the whole thing, and then just out of convenience wrote a little optimizer that was not running in ESO, but just wrote something in Lua sort of that would calculate like optimized CP distribution, and then also the jump points became apparent, and things were a bit complicated by that. But at some point I simply had the vision, I have all these data and combat metrics, shouldn't I be able to just calculate the optimal result from a fight and with just click of one or two buttons? And that motivated me to do it, right? To make constellations, to have an in-game tool instead of tediously going to a browser, putting in all the numbers. Also, you needed to know, you need to have some understanding of the game to know what is a dot, what is not a dot, because back then you would just click on some stuff in combat metrics and select them with the control key to see the percentage of the damage that they did, right? And to figure out what to set the browser tool to. So I just wanted to have a simpler solutions to that, and I also thought, if people can just do that, just get a parse and just from that get the optimal champion point distribution for that fight, then that will help them greatly. So it would help me greatly and would help people greatly. Like lower the bar for optimizing your champion points. So I thought it was a good idea, and then I just followed up with it. It's not that big of an add-on.
It's pretty big. It's pretty big.
No, I mean just from the functional side, right?
Okay.
To make it's not that big. The really hard part, as I mentioned, is that I need to collect the data for all the stuff, and I tend to slack these days a bit, so some new abilities might not match perfectly. But then again, that is not too important, because changes in the champion points, like whether you have 61 or 66 points in Elfborn or 56, and have them somewhere else, for example, doesn't change much. It changes it by 50 DPS or something, which is kind of meaningless. So people should also not be too obsessed about optimizing their champion points. Once they're in the right area, and you can easily just take them from the website, from ESOU, then you're pretty good to go, and you're only optimizing the last fractional percentages or whatever to improve from there.
The margins are very narrow once you enter the, like you said, the right area. It goes for green, or not green, sorry. It goes for red CP as well. It's like, as long as you got the gist of it, like, okay, in VSO, do I take more physical damage or elemental damage, then you're good to go. Okay, so that's a pretty cool origin story behind constellations. definitely cooler than common metrics, where you were like, I just want, just want to find out.
that was really the origin. That was the first thing, and then I thought, well, if I can track one buff, I can just track any buff because we might be in this situation again, right? So it kind of goes from there. I mean, not just make a small add-on that tracks scaling mage uptime.
I mean, it's still pretty funny that just one little thing, it's helped so many people. I don't know if you know, but it's helped so many people improve. Not just DPS, but also tanks and healers. All right, so we got the origin stories.
Well, I know that I'm also part of that.
Right. Yeah, of course, but I don't know how long. I guess I don't know. Maybe someone else would have done it, but at the same time, thank you.
At this time, there was something called Combat Analytics, which was also a little bit of a template of some stuff to put in.
Mm-hmm.
But when they enabled the API to show the buffs of your group members, that add-on broke because it was not written to deal with that amount of information and would then just cause lag spikes. And that was kind of the point when I think people switched from an add-on that was previously there that had some modular panels that you could put together, then also to use more combat metrics, I think. Because that was the most detailed thing we had back then. Maybe also recount, which is always around in some way or another. But that was kind of the point in time when I started to have the feeling that this might become an add-on that becomes popular.
Oh, I mean, again, it's a lot of downloads. 3.3 million downloads. That's a lot.
The graph feature was also fun. I wanted to have that to look at stuff more on a one glance thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, this
is have it open now.
Yeah. This is just packed with this island is just packed with so much information. Not only do you this kind of, I feel like, replace Superstar. I don't know if you're familiar with Superstar add-on, but
I know.
Yeah. This has pretty much replaced Superstar in my opinion. It's just pretty cool. Graph. I mean, there's so much information, and I love the combat log when I look through healing receipt and stuff like that.
I wanted to have that because I was sometimes in the situation of just trying out a few things, and then I couldn't put together anymore what did I wear with this pass and what did I wear with this pass, so I needed to solve that. So that was kind of also the start of putting together the information about the gear you were wearing at that pass or that fight, so you can go back and see, okay, I had this and this was my best attempt, so maybe I should be doing this. So I guess there's also sort of a little story behind all the modules in the end, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why I'm always curious about why did Solinur or whoever make this add-on, or how did they get started? Because again, not a lot of people think about the people who actually make the add-ons. We just kind of take it for granted. Okay, here's an add-on that tells you to go here for this antiquity, or do this at this point in time to not die. So I mean, I'm glad you came on to the podcast for this, because again, it's not talked about a lot, or add-on developers aren't talked about a lot.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, well, we're not finished yet, unless you want to go.
Yeah, sure. I have time.
Well,
I still have 5 hours.
5 hours? What are you doing in 5 hours? Sleep?
I need to work tomorrow.
Oh, okay. What? Add-on developers are human? Okay. How about pen test and group damage share? I guess you said you discontinued group damage share because of Andy S's holder reflexes. Or did you just discontinue because you didn't have time for it?
Well, because I don't have any use for it, I think people should just use holder reflexes to do that kind of information. I mean, the only thing that group damage share also shows is how much your healer heal, but this is in itself not very useful information. There's very limited cases where this becomes relevant to you.
Right.
I mean, since ZeniMax enabled the whole separation between actual healing and overhealing, this has become a little bit more meaningful, but
Mhm.
well, not much in the end, right? Because healers, what we call healers, are mostly supporters, and healing is just one of the small aspects what they do.
What about Pentest?
Pentest was just I think I was starting to play Necro there or something like that.
Okay.
Because it also shows vulnerability and off balance. I think that was one of the patches where this became sort of meaningful. And I just wanted to have a direct display of how penetration looks like, also to see a little bit where I'm at and whether I need to add more, because penetration was always it's always a tricky thing. There is no good in-game handling of it.
Right.
So most of the stuff is done manually, and I need to add the sources to it manually. But I just wanted to see what the penetration value is, and to be able to react to it, because in the end, if you're not over panning, then penetration is always the most important or the biggest improvement you can make, right?
Mhm.
If you're missing out on 1.5k penetration, then the set buff that you should get, like say monster set for example, is one that gives you penetration, because that's the biggest improvement that you can have over spell damage or crit buff. And I guess Pentest is at the moment the most accurate display. The stuff I recently built into there that also handles the mazes and so the Twin Blade and Blunt passive. This is not even in combat metrics yet, though I plan to add it as soon as I have time for that. But this is a bit complicated because it has this percentage modifier that's a bit hard to implement.
And what about improved death recount? I think you kind of touched on, like, the game not being. I guess you didn't say it's not the fact that it's inaccurate. It's just not enough information. So what happened with this add-on? What happened? Like, that made you go like, you know what? I want to see exactly what happened. Did you die in Falcon Grotto? Did you get ganked in PvP? What's the origin story behind this one?
Oh, I don't remember anymore the specific instance of what happened. I just was disappointed by the death recap by Ce-Nex that you can do that better. You have combat events. Just show what happened just before you died, what damage and what heals you get. This is way more important than seeing like that you got 100k damage over the last 10 seconds with some random dot or whatever. Right. So I just want to know better. That's it.
Right.
But improved death recap will also be discontinued soon.
Oh, why is that?
Well, I have a successor for it.
You have a what? Oh, a successor for it. Oh, okay. Oh.
I have something that is like improved death recap, but for group. So it shows the group member details also, because improved death recap was only for player themselves. So I'm working on that. Still needs a little bit of time, but
so it's
I'm getting there.
So it's kind of gonna be like Lilith's group manager in a way.
Yes, just a different interface solution in the end.
Okay.
And I also have some way of automatically calculating some like view on a glance, which should show you the most important stuff why you died on. It's sort of an algorithm that needs a bit more to explain, which you probably want to hear but it essentially looks like if you get some damage and then get healed, then part of the damage is not relevant anymore.
Okay.
And then just tries to give you a little overview. Let me just check something here. I can send it to you on Discord, a screenshot. How it looks
like. We got some juicy insider info. All right.
Does it work? Yeah, it does work.
All right.
Not the best example because there's just one damage source, but yeah.
Pull it up here. Oh, this is what's gonna replace improved death recap.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay. Let me look at this. Lord Falgraven, Blood Fountains. Wow. There's a lot of information here. Okay.
Well, like.
What the?
You know me.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
my add-ons. That's kind of what I do. And, like, these are the devs at the time, or my devs. You see on the top left, it's the person icon that I somehow dug out. There's also these icons most of the time I just try to dig them out from the UI, just try to go through the list of textures to figure out what is something suitable, and in some cases I draw them myself. So if people have drawing skills to make such icons, I mean, you can always reach out to Addon developers and assist them, I guess. If you feel that. I'm not particularly happy with Combat Matrix icons for now.
Oh, you don't like the icons?
I think they can be better. Let's say it like this. They are fine, but they can be better. Like stuff like this, someone needs to do it, right? And if it's me, I can only go so far. I mean, cannot do everything. I cannot be good at everything.
the hero we need but don't deserve.
So improving the icons there, like the main icons on the left, or the icons that are in the little panel.
Yeah, I see them.
I think they could be a little bit more descriptive. So yeah, so for that new add-on, just need to do some settings and need to do some. At the moment, it's just collecting data with no way of getting rid of it. So at some point, it would lead to issues. Still need to work a bit on that, and then also I plan to have some statistics, like to show for one evening who died, how often, and so on, or who died. The deaths were mainly from this source. Stuff you also get on ESOU logs, but some stuff you always want to just have a quick glance and just a couple of clicks to get to, and so something like that I also want to have. So yeah, one of the things I'm working on when I have time.
I mean, this is pretty cool that you're sharing this with us. I'm looking forward to this add-on for sure. Are there any other like future projects or plans for your other add-ons? Like, you did mention Combat Metrics, but like Untaunted, you said you kind of finished with that. Or do you have any new projects you'd want to like work on?
Untaunted is supposed to get superseded by a buff tracker, which can do the same thing as Untaunted, but generally for buffs. So it will go somewhere in between Aura Mastery and Surrender. It will be a buff tracker that's based on sort of a whitelist, so to say. So you need to add buffs that you want to track, and it doesn't show like every buff just on its own, but you need to specify what you want to see. And one feature I want to have there is that it can share some sort of gibberish string, gibberish text that you can that basically encodes your settings, so you can share them with your build for content creators, in the hope to get some people to, well, you need to track this buff, and when this buff runs out, you need to recast it, and so on. So for this kind of scenario, I want to have some nice solution.
That's what you want. That's pretty good.
And it should also, well, it should have the features of Untaunted, so to say, to separate buffs by target, and to maybe even group them then by target, so you can see, okay, the boss has these debuffs, and an ad named like this has this debuffs. You cannot always differentiate very well between ads with the same name.
Okay.
Kind of limitation. So stuff like this I want to do, and still some work to do there, so don't expect anything like next week or anything. But
of course.
It always takes quite a bit of time, but eventually I will get there. So one of the most closest projects I want to do is I want to change a bit the feedback part of Combat Metrics in a way to maybe set up a Discord and have a centralized place to get feedback, because that's something I've always been a bit unhappy with. I get very little feedback, and then sometimes I just hear from some people mentioning very casually, well, this doesn't work, and in Combat Metrics or wherever, and well, nobody told me ever. I would have fixed it by now, but if people have issues or think something is wrong, then people should contact me. But by having maybe setting up a Discord and having a link embedded in the add-on that lets you join it, then maybe that is better. At least that's what I plan to do.
You can maybe make that here in like a separate category. Also, like, yeah, we probably do that here too, if you like. Let's just centralize all the feedback in the category down below.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always possible.
Yeah, I actually, that's my next question. How, like, because you mentioned earlier the, like, what do you mention? Oh my gosh. Like, sorry, I'm like still kind of waking up from my 24-hour stream. But you mentioned people giving you bug reports and stuff. Yeah, bug reports and the green book, dude. Don't even get me started on the green book. You know, I saw people come into a chat earlier. Oh, do you get the green book? Do you get the green book? No, fuck you. But anyway, you mentioned that people give you feedback and comments, and I was gonna ask you, like, what's the best way to reach out to add-on developers? Because it seems like the only way, honestly, like the guaranteed way, is going through ESOUI.com, and then I have to, like, well, I do have an account here. Oh, I'm gonna show my username and password, but so, and you mentioned earlier, so that was actually going to be my next question. Do people often reach out to you on ESOUI or Discord, or just a little mix of both? And you said you don't really get too much. Oh.
On Discord, not much, because people, I guess, at the moment don't know how to contact me. I don't have my contact information for this. I get in-game mails because if you go to the feedback menu in Comment Metrics, which is also not very obvious to say, you need to go on this
where is it?
settings wheel, and then there's feedback/donation. Yeah.
All right.
And then you have a few. You can go to send a in-game mail, right? Or you can go to the ESOUI page, or you can go to GitHub. So I need to deactivate this on US on NA server because I tried to set up an account and an Argonian, which is called Listens to Feedback. But
oh, that's cute.
Yeah, I don't manage to train myself to go there every week and check the mail, to be honest. So sorry if anyone wrote and didn't hear back. I tried, but I failed there.
Oh no, you're fine.
GitHub also works. You can just go to the GitHub link and open up issues. You can just go to GitHub, click on issue, and give something. Oh. Why is it gone now? That's a bug.
Oh, it's gone. Oh, we found the bug. Perfect. Hey, Solinur, I found the bug. Wait, let me delete the mail. Let me see if that's it. Maybe that's it.
It shouldn't be.
Nope. Let me reload UI.
No, I don't know why. I will figure that out. Maybe it got reload UI should fix it, of course, but yeah, that this get. I've never seen this. This is also the thing. I use the stuff my way, and I might not encounter the issues that other users have using the stuff their way, right? So it's always important to get that kind of feedback.
It's back. I wonder if it's because I did send mail, and then.
Yeah, probably. I guess the function that it uses there uses lib feedback, and it will delete the button. I need to check that it's always get shown again. Yeah, I will fix that.
Alright, I'm gonna send you all the gold I have on EU, which is 1,133 gold. It's not much, but
that's alright.
Alright, anyway.
I mean, like I write on my donation page, I'm fine. I mean, I have enough gold for my stuff, and I have enough money to live, so you don't need to donate. It's all good.
Alright.
But if you want to, I wanted to give options because for some people that's something they really love to do.
Okay. Oh god.
I mean, I like to do it also to content creators, so certainly want people to have that. Yeah.
So I mentioned this earlier, how much you helped so many people with your add-ons. But on the flip side, there's a lot of people who have put your add-ons or criticized your add-ons and put them on blast. I remember so many. I mean, even recently, like over the years, people have blamed combat metrics as like, or not blamed, but like have criticized it as like an elitist or something add-on. What's your thoughts on that? Because it's like, well, I think we kind of touched upon it earlier.
Well, they might have criticized it, but they never talked to me about it. So I never got anyone telling me why did I do that. It's an elitist add-on that enables people to, well, be mean to other people or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's a tool of gathering information, gaining information, how to play the game better. And if that's what they kind of frown upon by calling them elitists, then I don't know. Might be from their view, but there's nothing changing that it's there, and that this is something you can do, and it's perfectly fine to use. At least there's no one stopping it. So just got to deal with that. I think the reasons behind that are a bit more in the personality of people or how they deal with that. So it's not exactly that it's just comment metrics. Even if we wouldn't have it, there would be some groups telling you you need to do that, you need to, or you would see the world records by some people doing whatever crazy thing that you cannot imagine yourself doing, whether it's bash weaving or whatever, right?
Right.
So there will always be something.
Yeah. I was just curious as to what your thoughts were, because it just seems over the years, your add-on comment metrics always gets brought up somehow, whether it's like relevant to it or not.
For me, it's I don't know. I don't really understand it. The comment metrics is supposed to give you just information, and you can. And it tries to give that to everybody, right? It might be a bit too convoluted for some people. That it's maybe a bit complicated about what is there, or that they have trouble figuring out, well, what does it mean if I have 100 spell damage more but 10% crit less? What for some people that might not be really clear, so I guess they cannot use it in that way. But yeah, in the end, it's information, and I think it's always better to have information than to not have it. I mean, I'm a scientist. What can I say about it?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, tools are tools. I mean, you know, make you know, atoms collide and people will make nukes. You know what I mean? Kind of like that.
I guess there are always some people who just like the way how things are and would like it to be different, right? Like certainly there are some people right now that will suffer a bit from all those people, all those high CP players, which now flood the random normals and rush through there, and which for them is probably then very hectic and they can't keep up or something like that because it goes so fast, and it's not how they play the dungeon or like to enjoy the dungeon usually. So I guess also people will dislike that. So it's just different play styles, and yeah, how it impacts the other people's game experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's just gonna be different for everyone, I think. Let's see. Sorry, I thought I saw a question earlier in the chat.
I also forgot something I wanted to.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Oh, I forgot it.
Oh, you forgot it? Well, we gotta remember. Oh, I'm trying to get the question real quick. Oh, okay. How old is Solinur? Oh, I don't know. You don't have to answer that one.
I'm 35.
35. Okay. All right.
PhD took longer than expected.
The PhD took longer than expected. How long has it taken you for the PhD?
It's now 10 years.
10 years for the dissertation?
Physics, can happen, yeah.
Boy. That's a long time.
I like doing it as well, so it doesn't matter really. And in Germany, PhD students get paid, St. Louis, and it's fine. So it's not even that I'm poor or anything. It's all good. Living a good life.
Are you married with kids?
No, I'm
another
not.
question. Okay.
No, I'm not. I don't have a partner. No cats also.
No cats also. No pets.
No ferrets.
No ferret.
No
okay,
pets.
of course. No pets. No kids. Do you have a significant other?
No.
So basically, combat metrics is your significant other in science.
Well, to some extent, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
not really, but yeah.
Alright, let's see. What was that? What was it? Oh, how does one code add-ons? Like, what code base to use? Lua, right? Lua.
It's called Lua. It's something. I think the closest thing I would relate it to is Python. It's in some way similar. Some syntax is a bit different, but generally it's just like any interpreted language.
What's
There's publicly available stuff how to start with Lua, and I guess some tutorials, interactive tutorials, that you can run in the browser to get started on the very basics. And at some point, you can then come to the ESOU UI wiki. So there's a wiki that you can access directly on the ESOU UI page, and there's some information on how to get you started. There's also the closest thing we have to documentation, and from there you will find your way if you're interested. It's a thorny way, and it requires patience and some getting into it.
Yeah.
Because it's not exactly very user friendly to get into the ESOU API due to the lack of documentation. But yeah, join the chat, for example. There's instructions on the wiki page how to do so, and people will help you out.
I think Wheels has something pinned in the Addons channel in the Discord. Where is it? Yeah, he said, yeah, he basically said the same thing as the ESOU iWiki.
Exactly, the
ESOU
wiki
source code.
the
And
source
then there's a
code,
bunch
which
of
is
other
a copy
things.
that we put up, which so far Ce-Nex hasn't objected to.
Okay.
And some links. Well, it's in the area. As long as they permit it, we're fine. And if they request to take it down, then we have to.
Let's see. We have a comment on Bethesda's stream. I saw Rich Lambert check combat metrics consistently. I think that says enough about how. Yeah, I mean, combat metrics has definitely helped
But
many
at
people.
least he likes it. I mean, once posted a screenshot of it. Was, I think, one of the few occasions where we ever saw some official post something about add-ons. I think there are some people in Source that are very skeptical of add-ons and a bit afraid of what they can do, because, well, they changed the game, and they can change. They have the potential to change the game too much, right? Like
Yeah.
we talked about it before.
Yeah, we kind of touched on it, like about how, like, where's the line, right, between this is acceptable and this is not acceptable. It's kind of at times it's clear, but at times it's kind of blurry. And we did also talk about, like, why aren't a lot of these add-ons, like even Untaunted, in the base game? I don't know, but again, I'm kind of hopeful personally, because like there's precedence, right? They brought in an add-on developer, Cardinal, to work for them to make the precision house editing tool, and then they did revamp the in-game UI for inventory and crafting. They did multi-craft, and I used multi-craft, the add-on, for a long time, and this was before the base game multi-craft. But I'm hopeful. Maybe they'll put combat metrics in the game. Who knows? But
well, I kind of plan to go and ask them at some point, whenever they have the games convention in Cologne in Germany again.
Oh my gosh.
I actually want to go there and join
Please.
the event and maybe talk to them a bit about it.
Just tell them, put your add-ons in the base game. It will help so many players. just tell them. Just be like, yo,
I will.
Just put combat metrics, Untaunted, improve. I mean, I don't know. It's a little frustrating. I mean, like I asked you earlier, like, are you frustrated by the lack of the base game, features?
No, I'm not really frustrated. It's rather the opposite. I'm thankful for the opportunities of the API to allow me to fix most of the stuff that bothers me. So, in that sense, I'm good.
I suppose. But personally, to me, I think this also applies to particularly console players. It's very frustrating. Kind of starting.
Yeah, if I could do it, it would be frustrating.
Right.
Especially if you see YouTube full with PC players doing all kinds of that fancy stuff and getting all kinds of information. You sit there like not knowing what to do really.
Right.
So
Yeah.
although I'm a little bit afraid that they developed the game in a direction that kind of makes things even more evened out like it is already now. Like these spreadsheet like design, that approach that they have been pursuing the past couple patches. I don't know. I am not too fond of that. I like when there are like nice niches for everyone and some nice weird synergetic effects of what to use. I like it when it's a bit more complicated and messy, that not everybody plays the same setup, or that it doesn't reach a state where it doesn't matter whether you wear, I don't know, Mother Sora or Julianos or whatever, because every stat is so balanced out that it's just the same. I'm a bit afraid of that.
Yeah, yeah, that's a reasonable. Oh, I would like to report another bug. It's showing my I guess that's if it has to fight something, and then it'll show.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, this is information that can only be shown after fight.
Okay. I'm just kidding.
It's basically just the initial state when nothing has been loaded. Because I assume people would not look up basically the window without having done a fight.
Right. What is your favorite beer? I guess you are from Germany, so I guess that's like a mandatory question.
Oh, my favorite beer.
Or do you not drink?
There is some pretty new, I think like for 1 or 2 years, a beer called Störtebeker. That's my favorite beer. It's a brand. They have several, and I like for example, the Atlantic Ale. I think it's something similar to an IPA beer in the end. I mean, all these, you also have that in California. At least I saw stuff like that when I was visiting for a conference. So I like these modern craft beers in general.
All right.
That have been popping up for the last couple of years.
Man of culture. Let's see. What's your favorite Netflix series? What is it? I think people want to date you or something. What's with these questions?
Yeah, who's asking them? Netflix. I don't know. One of my favorite series.
Oh, you do watch Netflix.
Was it was not Netflix. It was in Germany. We got it on Amazon, but I guess it counts as well. Is Mr. Robot, which is show about hacking and stuff. I think it ran on some network in US. I don't know.
HBO, I think.
No, I don't think it. I think this was especially not HBO. I think it was.
Was it not? Mr. Robot? I think it was.
Sci-Fi or ABC or something like that. Something. It was a bit unusual because it felt like an HBO show for sure, but it was notably something different, I think. But yeah, I guess that is fine as my favorite show. The early seasons of Game of Thrones I liked as well, and also liked Westworld to a degree. Although, as seasons, additional seasons come, things always lose a bit of their initial spark that they have, right?
Right. What do you think will be the biggest improvement to the game? Besides server stability. Is a question from chat.
Oh, the biggest improvement to the game besides server stability? I don't know. Server stability is really the big point there. Whether it's for server or whether it's for because the game is right now also at a state. If they just keep on adding like new sets every time, things get a bit out of hand, I would say. Like there are already so many item sets and so many concepts, so I think the biggest improvement is if they can bring some concept in that mixes things up a bit and allows us to explore that or revisit that stuff again in some way or another, right?
Okay.
Like one thing I thought about, what if, for example, they would give like certain percentage buffs, for example, to different zones, or even if it's just trial zones, and this kind of mixes up the itemization meta that you have in this trials. That not everything is the same. That you can actually, that things are a bit varied and a bit more interesting. Like just like one style played everywhere, or it doesn't matter even what sets you have, right?
Right.
So, but this is only for me. I think it would make the game also very complicated for people who are not that far or not that experienced with endgame raiding. So one needs to figure out how to maybe just put it into hard modes or something. I don't know, something like that. And as far as the rest goes, I don't know. We already have housing. We have so many stuff, so many things, so many systems there. We have this whole antiquity stuff. I don't know where the game could actually go. I'm really also excited to see what they come up with, because I have no obvious ideas what they could bring to the game at this point. It's been around for a while. But I mean, back at World of Warcraft, they at some point completely redid the game, the base game, to bring in flying mounts and stuff like that.
Flying mounts, oh.
I mean, at some point they might get desperate and add something like this, but on the other hand, it doesn't really fit the theme of Elder Scrolls,
Right.
I would say.
Right.
So I don't hope they bring this. Let's be clear about this.
I'd be okay with
really no point.
I'd be okay with a mount that's hovering, like off the like it doesn't
Yeah,
like a
that's
horse that doesn't
basically a
have
ground
legs
mount
or
that
something. You know
doesn't
what I mean?
touch-
Like a hover horse. You know. What was I gonna ask? Oh god, I lost my train of thought.
I mean, content-wise, we can still explore a few zones here and there that have been, I guess, touched, because we have pretty much covered most of the content that is there, right? I mean, we have seen Skyrim now in ESO. We have seen Morrowind, and so what's there still to come, right? I don't know.
I think in terms of the game system, I feel like they could incentivize doing trials more and stuff, but maybe something like a trials group finder or something. Like, doesn't World of Warcraft also have a group finder for that, for raids?
Oh, I think when I was leaving, they started having all these different difficulties for trials. Like you could have a pickup group difficulty, and then you could have something in between for pre-made group, and then you have a veteran pre-made group. I don't know even what it was called, like elite or professional or hard mode or whatever. So you can always do this, but this is only like recycling content. Personally, I would love to have more trials.
Yeah.
To try.
Oh, we're getting there. We've been slowly adding, I guess, the content there.
Yeah, but the latest trials also always felt a bit smaller than the initial ones, right? If you look at the Cracklone trials, they have a bit more content, even though now you can just rush through it. But they have more bosses, more mechanics, more stuff. I guess it comes a bit with the fact that these were, I think Cracklone was originally intended to be with base game or something like that. So a lot of concepts have been done when the team was still big to ship the game.
Yeah.
And then it got thinned out quite a bit to just maintain it, right? You don't need so many programmers for that.
I think the focus now in terms of content is more so on accessibility. I don't know if I don't know if you have an opinion on this. What do you think about that? Since we've got things like since the Heralds from DLC, right? It's becoming more and more clear that they want it seems like all content to be accessible to more people or everyone. But at the same time, it's like it kind of affects the content in a way, like you said, Kind's Ages seems a little lacking, not just in terms of content itself, but also difficulty, maybe, probably for a lot of people that's in the in-game community. So, what's your opinion on that one?
I think that's well, the accessibility. That's something they should do to make it well to maintain it and to maintain users and to keep users engaged, who otherwise will be put off. What they also should spend more time on, and this is probably a popular opinion, is on making sure everything works smoothly. So a bit more testing, a bit more bug fixing, a bit more focus on quality to some degree. I mean, a lot of veteran players don't even wish for any new systems, but just
stability,
for things to run smoothly.
Right, stability.
So, yeah, the biggest improvements are probably, if there's no real good idea for new content, then it's really accessibility for everyone, for console players especially, or for places where add-ons cannot touch, right? And for stability.
Is Constellations updated for Mario Kart? I'm pretty sure it is. It's a question from chat. Isn't it?
Not particularly, I have to say. Generally, it should work. I mean, they didn't change too much, but I think after we finish, I will still go through the few missing abilities that people have sent to me that are currently not recognized by Constellations and add them, and just need to quickly test which CP they benefit from for real, and then add this to the game and then upload it. But I haven't do a full pass on everything. This patch, this takes me, a good part of a 15-hour weekend, so to say, to go through every damage ability. I have some helping tools that allow me to gather stuff a bit faster and copy paste some info, but it's still a lot of work to go through every class, to every skill line, to every of the 2 morphs of damaging abilities, and to all kinds of proc sets to figure that out and to make a check on it. I will do a full check at some point, but unless I suspect anything being really changed, then I don't think it's necessary, and everything should just work. So Constellations for now will always just work. It just relies on very basic functions in game and some combat metrics data, and it's information of which abilities benefit from which CP. That's basically all it needs. So it's very independent of updates and stuff like that in that sense, unless some major changes happen to abilities.
It sounds like so much work.
As I said, Constellation is the hardest to maintain.
It's for sure.
If I ever get a better solution for that, then that would be cool. Maybe at some point someone sets up a database somewhere or a web page, and I can just steal the data from there, right? Or get it from there.
You are a physicist. You're close to getting your PhD at last. And here's a question that you might like. Who's your favorite, or who is the most influential physicist in your life? I guess. Who's your favorite?
In my life, I don't know.
Well, like most influential physicist for you, or favorite. Like, do you have a role model in your field, or?
The physicist that I sort of, admire the most was or is Richard Feynman, because he had such a good way of conveying science and physics. But there are a lot of other physicists that are interesting as well. I mean, I read books from Stephen Hawking, who also was had a big influence, not in fields I have been working on, and certainly not stuff that I ever dreamed to understand. But also had some very cool books that I like, and then something more related to my field is, well, although indirectly, is Schrödinger, the guy with the cat, right?
Yes.
And he wrote a very interesting, or held a speech which was then printed in a book about my field, which is biophysics. And there are certainly also all the classics, right? Like Newton, Einstein, Kepler, and so on. I mean, you learn the stuff that they figured out, and you sometimes read like anecdotes how, well,
the apple on Newton's head,
or had some I don't know, some stuff happening and so on and so on. But I guess from the physicist that kind of is most interesting to me, it's Richard Feynman, because of the style he explained physics. I look up to that.
All right. So going off that question, why? Here's a question: why are you and other physicists lying about how the Earth is not flat? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Anyway, let's move on to the next question. All right, let's see. What is
because
the most?
We couldn't find the turtle yet, right?
Sorry, I had to do that one. Anyway, what is the most overrated add-on in your opinion, or what's the most underrated?
I don't think there's what's the overrated add-on?
I don't know.
How would an add-on be overrated? To be honest, I mean,
I guess like people would have to say, "Oh, you have to get it" or whatever.
I mean, it depends on the context. You could also say comment matrix is overrated because in some aspects people tend to get way too much to interpret way too much into it that isn't there actually. I mean, sometimes they it's like how people tweet information, right? Sometimes they tweet it like there is no difference, and there can't be another opinion, and it's shown there, and they misunderstand. Like the healing is a good example of that, right? Some healers point out that they did this much healing, and another one did this much healing, so they are better. And it doesn't tell the story, and it's not really the number that's important. So
I feel like the most overrated add-on is like mini maps. Honestly, I watched these other guides from other content creators, and they're like, "Oh, here's an add-on you need, mini maps." I'm just like, and every time I watch like a new player stream on ESO and if they're on PC, they always have a mini map. I'm just like, why is that necessary? I think mini maps are overrated personally, but whatever. That's my personal opinion.
Did you know that there was supposed to be a minimap, or there is some code in for minimap in the base game?
Really?
Yeah, Wotan's minimap is basically just using that that code to basically, because it's just like the world map that it shows,
right?
Cut out. That's kind of a system that is actually under the hood, still in the game from something that was abandoned at some point because they thought they don't need it or they won't want it. So there on your page, they think minimap is not needed.
Huh. I mean, so that's really interesting that you just told us that there's a component left over from when they thought about doing it within the game's code. What else have you guys found that they have abandoned or just kind of not worked on?
Well, they must have had some concept of some warden and necromancer in the game, because in the base game you could identify 6 classes from the API,
right? And
among the 4 that we have, which Templar is actually the 6th class, I think, was something called a conjurer and a warden, and we have both now. So I guess they had maybe they drew up some classes and then for time being scrapped 2 of them. I don't know, but at least there used to be these 2, and then they cut it out at some point when they did some interface work. But I think that was after we got the warden already, and in the end we don't have a conjurer, we have a necromancer. So I guess there was at least some initial concept maybe that they had. Of course, they didn't have the class already ready to deploy or something, right? They still had to work those out and work those into the current state of the game, because as we already said before, the base game, or the game back when we had veteran ranks and were exploring Craglorn for the first time, was way different than was right now, right? But they had some idea of it, so
yeah. I mean that is so cool.
That's
you guys
maybe
find
interesting.
like
Sometimes
that.
you find some nuggets like that, but these days I think most of that has been covered. I mean, with data miners appearing, they also have been getting very cautious and have implemented systems to prevent it to a certain extent. So, because they obviously want to have control over when to release information, because it might mislead people or make their life actually harder, right?
Yeah, I've heard that they don't like data mining, but I don't know why. I don't know if they don't like data mining. I guess they just can't stop data mining. You know that Russian website? I don't
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know the website's name. I forget. I don't really check it, but like they data mine the next crown store. Right. So it's pretty cool.
Because they need to put some stuff in the game already earlier to have it available later whenever they want to unlock it. So obviously some stuff is in there, and apparently they don't seem to have a way to, just not add like the images of the new crates or whatever until they actually want to deploy them.
Okay.
They apparently, it looks like they have no way of preventing them to add them to the game for whatever reason. It's just the way how they organize their coding base, right? Because you might think that they could just add all the textures, the images that in the end get data mined, right?
Right.
Which then have a file name or whatever that might give you a hint of what they're supposed to do. You might think that they could just wait and add them whenever they are close to releasing it with the patch, but they don't do that, so I guess they don't have the time to implement something that does it. But maybe they will in the future. We see.
Alright, more questions from chat. How much is too much on your screen? I think they're asking you. How do you balance how many add-ons you have covering your screen, since you like having lots of information to dissect?
In fight, not too much, because I sometimes do too much on my screen, or put too much on my screen. And
do you have a screenshot of your UI that you can show us?
There's not much on it at the moment. I can do that.
Sure. Because I think some people are curious, like, okay, he makes add-ons. Like, what does his UI look like in comparison to mine? Does he have like 20
add-ons? I have no buff track at the moment. It looks really clean at the moment. I mean, if I send you a screenshot, there's almost nothing on it, but also partially because because I'm just now in the zone, and some add-ons only activate in the when you're in trial and stuff. So I have all like Rate Notifier, Codes Combat Alerts, and all these add-ons, of course. Some add-ons are will only show up in certain areas. Like the bottom right thing is just like this debug viewer, which is something I guess most people won't have. So I guess just get some text comments, and sometimes I have functions running in my add-on to investigate some stuff to see how they work. For example, there's a bug at the moment in my in Necronomicon, this improved death recap successor, where not all deaths are shown, and I need to figure out why. So first step is to figure out when does it pick up on someone dying, and when does it not, and what can I do about it. This is like work I need to do, and then some information you only get in certain environments. And I rarely go out and catch a group of people and just have them die or something. I might need to do that, but I like to prevent it and just try to gather data on the side when I'm doing my usual stuff anyway.
Your UI is so clean.
It just looks like this at the moment. I don't know. I see it
minimal.
as well, but this is just my PvE set at the moment, right? I mean, the lower right bottom is not even necessarily there, but then there are all kinds of. I mean, I have this fancy action bar, which shows me most of the stuff I need for the rotation, right? How long my buffs still go. And I don't need to watch much else. Untaunted is also active. You don't see it at the moment because there's nothing that's being tracked at the moment. So that adds some bars somewhere on my screen, right?
Right.
So
I mean, I was expecting.
I don't have a screenshot now for when I'm in a raid and fight, because then it's a bit more cluttered. They have the group window also and stuff like that, right?
I was expecting your UI to have like, I don't know, like 50 things with numbers and math and everything.
No, not really. But I have 227 add-ons.
What? How many?
My add-on panel. 227.
227 add-ons?
Yeah.
What? No way. What?
Well, some are counted more than once, right? Master Merchant has these.
Sure, but okay,
zombie
hold
add-on
on.
thingies and stuff like that.
Wait. 227 add-ons? Right, active or like just in there?
No, active are at the moment.
Okay.
I have Addon Selector, which is a nice add-on to make profiles of add-on that you want
add-on
to
to manage add-ons. That's hilarious.
Exactly. No, it's very, very useful because when I code, I go back to a very minimal set of add-on, which basically just my add-ons and 1 or 2 development add-on tools. Because when you code, you actually need to do a lot of reload UIs. The only way to test if your code actually works is to do it, and then when you need to change something, you change the code and then you reload the UI. So you're sitting a lot of the time there to just reload the UI, change something, reload the UI, change something, and so on. That's also a painful part of add-on developing. Having a good setup for at least checking the basic Lua syntax is possible with modern coding tools, right, like a proper editor. But we do. So far, nobody went ahead and created a proper coding environment for ESO that can just read the files that Ce-Nex provides us with. So every patch they provided us with a list, some kind of extract from some page that they have or some wiki that they have, which lists us all the functions and all the basically all the functions and all the global variables that are in the game, right? So they provide us with some useful tools. One big thing that they actually provided us, which is super helpful, is that they added a profiling mechanism that we can figure out how much CPU time an add-on uses. Since all add-ons run on one core, the whole user interface runs on a single core on the computer, which is why if an add-on does something, it can completely interfere with you playing the game. I think even the keyboard inputs are collected via this layer, so that's a bit of a limitation, I feel, because it means that if you have forget to turn off like Master Merchant or whatever in trial, you get these little stutters, right? This is a bit annoying, and if you do something wrong with add-ons, you can completely stop the game for people. I sometimes joke to my friends that at some point I will make an add-on when I go for PvP. Whenever someone targets me, it just freezes their computer, so I can win.
Wait, is that possible?
That's easily possible. I mean, you just make an infinite loop and then it stops. And you can even specify for how long. You can say, well, stop for a second or whatever.
Wait. You're telling me you can make an add-on that can crash another player?
Yeah, easily.
What? Isn't that a huge security issue?
Well, no,
that's a bug.
Need add-on, right?
I think I feel like we should have talked about this earlier. wait. I don't get how that works though. What? So you? Oh,
it would be maybe 15 lines or so. That add-on would be 15 lines. It's just as I said, there's this problem that Master Merchant can cause these stutters, and of course, they have to install the add-on first. Like,
okay. I thought you meant like you download the add-on and you can crash it. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I can make. Of course, with having a popular add-on, I have some sort of power or responsibility to
you can put something in combat metrics or whatever, right? And then
yeah, sure.
That's hilarious.
just when you target me, you get some lag issues.
Oh my gosh, you should do it for like Hell Raw. Like if someone kills you with the statue explosion, just send them to the login screen. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you can also just call there's a simple function called quit, which basically just closes the game. Yeah.
That's okay. I think that's like.
I mean, you can do that, but of course. I mean, in the beginning, in beta or in the early days, there was an add-on which secretly took gold from players and sent it via mail to someone else, and then Ce-Nex had to put in this confirmation dialogue that you cannot prevent with an add-on to deal with that. So basically, someone was stealing money from players via some add-on. So when something like this happens, usually Ce-Nex reacts if it's too much of an issue, right? You saw that also, and I guess people at Ce-Nex would be also pretty angry with me if I added something that causes just random crashes at places that they have a tough time to figure out. I don't know. They might even be able to sue me or whatever.
Wow. Okay.
Because there are some terms of service and,
right,
and
right.
stuff like that, right?
Right. Okay. So there's that layer of security right there. Just in case you go like a super villain, you know, one day you're like, you know what? But anyway.
Yeah. So there are obviously ways to mess up stuff. I mean, all kinds of functions that are available without user interaction. You can, for example, just could, I guess, throw away all items and stuff like that. Should be possible. So yeah, you would notice probably soon enough if an add-on was like that, because it would be making the rounds in the easy community pretty quickly. But yeah, it's generally possible. So don't always try to install the newest shit that someone maybe just sent you, which is not even uploaded, and so on. So people can trick you with that if they want.
Yeah. What's your opinion on add-ons that, you know, I know some raid teams, including mine, and in the past, some raid teams I've been part of, and some raid teams that I have not been a part of. What's your opinion on groups that make their own add-ons and just kind of keep it to themselves?
It's not my approach. I have made one add-on that is
group specific, or your team only.
It was that I didn't upload, but more because it wasn't completely presentable, I would say. It just basically gave some information other add-ons gave as well. This was back in Sanctorium Asylum, when there was this add-on that just had these tiny numbers on the screen in some this Asylum status tracker or whatever it was called. I think it was this one. And I just made a version that was based off, I was ripping some elements from Untaunted and just had these bars basically showing up timers for abilities, stuff like that. I generally think it's fair game. I mean, it's a
fair game
option that you have in the game. It's not my personal style how I would do this. I would usually upload those add-ons. Or at the latest at the point where I have maybe achieved what I wanted to achieve.
Well, how do you feel if like combat metrics or maybe not as big, but how do you feel if like Untaunted was group exclusive? Like,
that's fine.
That's fine? Okay.
Sure.
Huh.
I mean, if they would be so special, they might get leaked anyway, I would say. And I guess some of them have. And if word gets out via streams or whatever that there is such an add-on, if there is enough motivation or enough benefit from it, then someone would just recreate it. There's not much that is. It's really hard to have a feature that no one is able to copy.
Okay. So in the end, everything's ultimately open source, technically.
Yeah.
Because everyone's sharing the same exact.
We all rely
API.
on the same functions, and unless you dig up something really, I guess you would need like get a tip from Ce-Nex about something that they didn't reveal or whatever to get a real edge to do something that no one can replicate, because then you would have just to guess function names or whatever. But unless something like this happens, I guess there's really no way that you can make something that other people couldn't figure out. I mean, at the very least, at some point, someone might leak the code or something. But yeah, I think it's fair game. If it's everyone's own choice what to do with the creations that they do. And I guess it has become in some way also an edge that at least for the top players is a way to compete. But on the other hand, always think of console players, right? They have to play without add-ons.
Exactly.
So the game is also meant to be played without add-ons in some way at least. So it will never be something that won't allow you to do at least the in-game achievements, so to say. But the sort of meta achievements that community creates, like world records or whatever, that's a bit a different story then. there can be a lot of things that give you an edge there, whether it's secret tactics or secret add-ons that show you stuff to pull things off.
Oh man, I was gonna ask you such a good question. I just forgot it for some reason. God. Let me think. Oh my gosh, why can't it just like, I don't know what happened. It just poof, disappeared. That's unfortunate. I think that's gonna be a good question. But anyway, the next question's from Twitch chat. Someone asked, is there a way we can help you, Solinur, with information collection or bug reports or something? Or whatever.
Bug reports are always helpful. If you see something not working, contact me. As I said, I will make it easier and
Yeah.
some way for contact me over Discord. I think that's a because I see also what you mentioned earlier with ESOU UI, you have to register and stuff. That's a bit a barrier. That's a bit annoying. So just using a tool that's I guess more commonly available is better. And in-game email is always, like I said, I don't really manage to check an A server all the time, and other than that, it's a bit hard to get into contact with me, probably. Yeah. Although I don't want this to be like that. So bug reports always helpful, and or if you have ideas, feature requests. I mean, I might not be able to do many of them, or I might not be able to do them right away. People can also contribute, since my code is on GitHub. So you can also, people who are programmers or familiar with working and contribute in open source projects can do it there. Mm-hmm. I'm a bit new to that, or have not much experience there. But if people wanna come up with ideas or give some code contributions, that's always possible.
When will the dynamic pen values of Alkosh be added into combat metrics penetration calculations, so people stop yelling about underpen?
Since PTS of that Alkosh patch.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Favorite streamer? Ooh, who's your favorite streamer? Nephis does not count as an answer. Okay.
I don't know then.
All right.
Let's to answer that question maybe a little. What I have trouble with is streamers that are too negative or too. I don't know. I like streamers that are relaxed, that I can also sometimes have a bit more in the background, and that works very well with you because you have this voice that makes one feel calm, and like when I watch, for example, Arcast, then he complains all the time. That puts me under stress, so I cannot hear that. I cannot stand that for long. So streamers like that constantly complain or are bothered about things, I don't.
Well,
I cannot watch them very long.
I think he complains because he's passionate about the game.
I know. I mean, it's not that I dislike him or something.
Yeah.
I cannot have a stream. The only way to have that is to watch it actively, because I'm really bad at multitasking and there's not many distractions that I can have, and this conflict, so to say, kind of stresses me a bit. So I guess I can't have that really. There are a few other streamers that I guess are also fine. Some German streamers.
There's
Suracell, who is also in Hotmod stream team. He's in my raid group actually. If you want to see the raids I'm in that I'm leading, he's streaming those usually. And
there's Mizmeli, Niniku Alive, and Alexos. I think those
are
German streamers.
Niniku and Meli I can also watch. That's also good. To name a few.
Okay, let's see. On the prior question, do you like it if people submit bug reports via GitHub?
Sure, it's a good way.
Okay. Are you a football fan? Oh, sorry, go on.
Just to the previous question, until I answer that one. What did I wanted to say? I forgot again. Damn it! That let me think.
My bad. I'm also trying to think about the other question I forgot about. Oh my god, it was such a good question.
GitHub. Yeah, just send it there. It's fine. I don't know if I remember what I was going on. Yeah, football. What was about football?
Do you like football, or are you a football fan? By assuming
Yeah,
football,
I
mean
like football.
not American football, but like football.
No. What do you call soccer?
Right. Alright, let's see.
Yes, I like that. Not following national games anymore because I don't know. Most people who are into that know that this stuff has been kind of declining in popularity and is not really interesting anymore. So it's just club level football, and a lot of football loving people will probably hate me for that. But well, I'm from Leipzig in Germany, and I'm going to the local football club. So that's it.
Okay. How can add-ons affect game performance and/or loading times? Oh, that actually go. Okay, I got the question. I remember my question. But yeah, this is from.
Can have a massive effect. The bigger you can check your save variables folder. The bigger the stuff is in there, as a rule of thumb, the longer will your loading times be if these add-ons are active. So if you have a lot of fights stored in combat metrics, this will affect your loading times. There's actually also a warning displayed for that reason in the settings where you can increase the size of the increase the size of space that you can save fights to. Same as for Master Merchant and other add-ons that have huge like files in the megabyte range, like 2-digit megabyte range. They will affect your loading times. Performance is the same thing. Add-ons can have really hard impact on performance. Most evident is Master Merchant, of course, which whenever it tries to update its data sets will cause these stutters. Other add-ons can have that too. It depends a bit on your computer whether you will notice it. And one thing you can do, which I also added to combat metrics, is that you can go to the graph and can select the frame rate. And just check the minimal frame rate there to see if there are any noticeable spikes. If you see those, then something is causing like these micro lags. So to speak.
Oh yeah, my question, I forgot, but I remembered. So I think a lot of players get frustrated when bugs and other glitches are happening in the game, like I mean this past patch week is a perfect example, and a lot of the responses that come from whether it's on the forums or the community managers is to like make sure you get rid of add-ons. Now on that note, I think a lot of people are skeptical too when this was back in Hero Storm when ads were going back and forth. I don't know if you remember this, but I think you remember this. Yeah, everything was decent. They said, reload, just get rid of add-ons. And like, how much do add-ons affect that kind of stuff? Like, is there even any like merit to them recommending to players, hey, turn off add-ons and see what happens, or is that sort of just like a cursory check?
Well, this is something they need to check because if an add-on is causing that, then it's not their responsibility or not even in their power to change anything about it, right? If the game lags because of an add-on, then there's nothing they can do about it. So one of their first responses is to make sure that you see this without add-ons enabled, because otherwise it might not even be the game that has an issue, but rather the add-on. Because as we covered, the add-ons can cause performance issues. So this is just a first response that they always have. Of course, if they would pay a bit more attention, which I guess they don't have the time to, or which is not really efficient for them to do, to the players in that respect, they would notice pretty quickly that in at least a few cases where this happened, it clearly wasn't an add-on issue. And for combat metrics, I can say I tried from time to time, I test the impact with this profiling tool that this ZeniMax gave us at some point, and check what actually happens. So I like go on PDS and put like 50 dummies or whatever, and just try to see what happens there. And then I also have, as I said, these combat metrics graph that I have to see the FPS, which shows me if anything is really going wrong with the uptime, and if it's not, and I have combat metrics enabled, and I go to whatever Kinds Aegis or Cloudwest or whatever, and I see I have reasonable frame rates, then combat metrics is fine.
Okay.
So, and from my tests, I would be surprised if there's an issue, but you can never be sure, at least not with the complexity of such an add-on.
Has ZOS changed the game so add-ons can do more now when you look back from when ESO was new? And will ZOS do more for how you can make add-ons in the future? That's a question from chat.
It's not like they have... So the biggest opening up of the API that I saw was when they allowed the personal client to get information about the buff status of your group members.
Right? That was like 2016.
I don't know.
That was a long.
Maybe
that was a while ago.
By the way, I checked comment metrics. First upload in ESOU UI was in April 16.
Okay, so that sounds about right. 2016, maybe.
26th of April, and 2016 is the first upload. It's you can check that for every add-on on the ESOU UI page in the file info. So this was the biggest, and whenever they add something new, like now the item collections and so on, they often also add some API, or rather they have to add the API, because that's, as I said, the way they show the interface themselves. So there's sort of like a base game add-on that shows most of the user interface, right? Whether it's HP bar or resource bar or the standard group interface or the inventory, that's all done with the same means that we as add-on developers have. There are some functions that we can't access because they are protected, and some functions that are only that we can only use outside of combat. You can think of dressing room, and here, for example, where you can only switch gear and switch skills outside of combat.
Right.
So there are some certain limitations, but with everything they add, they usually also add some API for it. So we have access to that. So they constantly add to the capabilities of add-ons in some way, but they're not really opening up like old systems. Like whatever we have is probably going to stay and without major changes. Right. There's these small changes. As I said, we have this contact, this UI designer, which recently changed, that communicates with us, and that also sometimes adds some stuff if it's nothing fancy, nothing too big, but some small requests that are easy for him to implement. He will do.
Okay, that's pretty cool that they have someone like talking with you guys and everything.
I don't know if they have him talking with us. I think it was more like the guy kind of
like a voluntary
reached out a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's still pretty cool.
At one point, he mentioned that people were surprised that he always had so specific feedback, which basically came from the chat with us in the meetings. So it was kind of funny.
Okay. Next couple questions. That'll be it for questions. If PC players need add-ons versus console players without add-ons, do you think that means PC players need help to play the game?
No.
Okay. This kind of goes back to our earlier conversation.
My general idea. I mean, this is maybe a bit the bigger view on the world thing, but is if you just take a group of people from whatever I don't know, like property, or like with whatever they come from, with what they share, and compare that to another group of people, you will just get the same thing. I mean, there's no difference between PC players and console players in general. It's just that due to the fact there are add-ons available on PC, maybe some players who would have given up on console wouldn't give up on PC because they have more help. That's for sure. So it changes the game in some aspects, and that will, of course, have a certain influence on the player base. But just from the general outset, I don't think there's a difference between PC players and console players.
Okay. I mean, this goes back to our earlier conversation about how the game's changed so much, and add-ons with it, and the amount of add-ons.
Yeah.
I remember not having things like Raid Notifier, counters, and we were still fine. Or
I just remembered something.
What's that?
One thing that is really missing at the moment is that the API doesn't give you an information when you block. This is kind of missing. Yes, it sounds so simple, but you cannot get block uptimes anymore. You don't see them in ESOU logs. You don't see them in game.
Why is that?
Because when they changed the block system to this new system, right?
Yeah. That's server side.
Basically, the API it's not a buff anymore. It's I don't know whatever it is, but you cannot track it. It's impossible. The only way the only thing you can track is whether you hold down the block key or not. But this doesn't really tell you if you block, because you can switch weapons, get stunned or whatever. Run out of stamina. So at the moment we have no way of telling when you're blocking. This is something I would say they should add in. It shouldn't even be a big issue. Because for some players it's hard to see if they block, and hard to understand when they die. Like people die because of, I don't know, suddenly there are cast times in skill and suddenly they go out of block without them noticing and stuff like that. Especially since there have been a couple of skills that got cast times added these days. So having maybe also for some people who are having troubles to see all these fine details, like this block icon that you have in front of you, right? This glyph that's in the air.
Right.
Yes. This is the only indication that you block, and if you don't see that, then for some people it might be helpful to get a big fat shield on their screen when they block, so they know when something's happening, at least for learning purposes, right? And at the moment we can't do that. There's no way to tell when people are blocking, actually.
I mean, it's kind of hard to see this block icon. You know what I mean? When you're taking a boss.
Yeah, because the shield is even in the way.
You still see it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't know that you can't even try blocking through the API. That's kind of sus. This thing.
Yeah, the other personal request is that they allow better weaving on puncturing sweeps and jabs, but that's just because Macula is my main and almost the only thing I care about.
Okay, and you said you do take requests into consideration for add-ons, and we got.
Always, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Someone asked you to make an add-on to make pets invisible. Something like high group, I guess, but...
these... The problem is the 3D world is hardly accessible to add-ons, especially... what we have is, we have like harvest map these 3D markers, but they're not available in dungeons and trials, because ZeniMax fears that they would oversimplify encounters by... someone making an add-on showing now the group moves to this marker, now the group moves to that marker, and simplifying that.
Okay.
This happened to World of Warcraft at some point, not when I was playing anymore, but I think there was a boss where basically two people, so for the full group, or always a pair of people would get a laser beam between them that killed any people that was in between them, and the only way to play that boss was essentially with an add-on telling you when you were safe or when you were not safe. Because in World of Warcraft you play with 25 people, and you can imagine trying to figure out where is a safe zone when you have 25 people standing there in the midst of some other void zones, right, that you need to avoid. So I don't know. You want to avoid a state where you need to depend on add-ons to survive an encounter, right?
Yeah. What is this? A couple more questions. Wait, this was not a question. Tell Solinur this. I think I'm falling in love with you, Solinur. Well, looks like you might have a date after this podcast.
Let's see.
Crunk Yami.
The situation is a bit problematic on that respect.
What do you mean?
Pandemic.
Oh, well, yeah. It's just Skype call, but anyway,
that is doable, I guess.
Would other people's add-ons affect another player's gameplay, or like in a trial or dungeon group instance? Can add-ons bug out enemy movements?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
The only very, very small exception is the mapping stuff, right? So add-ons can send mappings, although limited, and I don't think someone has a really so. If you don't have then the add-on that receives these pings, you just see random pings on the map, and this has the tiniest of an impact on your system, but nothing that should really bother you, to be honest.
Okay.
So that aside, other people's add-ons can in no way interact with another client's add-on. It's something that we add-on developers want to have this channel that sends messages, and I guess at some point this is a performance concern.
Right.
But ZeniMax could limit this to like a message per second or whatever to avoid it.
Going back to what you said about Blanc not being trackable, we got a couple people commenting. How does LGM or Lilith's group manager recognize that a hit is blocked or unblocked then? And then another person said, I have an add-on that tracks the block, but that has a private one. It is working.
As I said, what is possible to track at the moment is a function that is called something like is player blocking or whatever. This is true whenever you hold down the block key, not when...
Oh, okay.
So it's not checking whether you're actually blocking, like in whether you have resources to block, or whether you're not stunned, or you're not dodge rolling or anything. But it's just checking if you, as far as I know, maybe I missed something, maybe they added something, but as far as I know, there's no way to block. To block. And what you can of course detect is the combat events. So you see when a hit has been blocked, when it hasn't been blocked, or whether it critted, or whether it is a heal and stuff like that. This is no problem. But to actually see that you're at the moment actively and validly blocking is something, as far as I know, that is missing.
All right.
At least the last time that I checked.
Okay, I think this is gonna be the last question we take from Twitch chat. How? I guess comparison. Okay, how would you compare making add-ons for ESO versus add-ons for other MMOs? Is ESO more or less restricted or controlled than other MMOs like World of Warcraft? Or did you only start making add-ons for ESO? I guess is the question.
I started add-ons when playing ESO. I didn't make add-ons for World of Warcraft, but as far as I kind of noticed, because sometimes people comment on that, World of Warcraft is a bit more liberal on that, or rather the developers are more conscious about what to allow. They seem to be a bit more to allow more with respect to add-ons, which I guess is also easier because I think World of Warcraft is only PC.
Right.
If I hadn't missed anything. And I think there they are more conscious about what to allow and what to not allow, and it's different systems, so it's hard to compare. I mean, there were secret channels that add-ons could communicate with, so send back and forth all kinds of information. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Maybe another interesting thing. At some point, Master Merchant had a feature that kind of managed to slow down the EU server. Because it would aggressively check the guild history, and the server couldn't handle that because too many people had this add-on active and were aggressively checking guild history. At that point, they limited guild history and limited the way you can access it. For people who are involved in trading, this was kind of a big issue, I think.
Oh yeah, I remember that actually.
So this was also a situation where add-on could have an impact, and which kind of brings in another issue where they might be cautious about, right?
Yeah.
Which is just using a function to request the guild history to compile like how many sales every player on the guild had, right? And at some point it was just over the top. I think they will add something in that respect, because at the moment it's also very inefficient.
Okay.
The way it's handled, and some developers in that area have talked with the interface guy and for some improvements maybe, and he will try to get it done at some point. So also there was some recent developments in this whole Master Merchant stuff that looks pretty good and will improve soon.
Okay, that's pretty good. Before we wrap this up, do you have anything to say to anyone out there about add-ons, or your add-ons, or to anyone who's interested in making add-ons? If you'd like to say anything.
Well, if you're interested in making add-ons, go for it. I mean, especially if you're a bit new to programming, I think it's a very valuable skill to have.
Mhm.
So if ESO or ESO add-ons can be your motivation to learn more from that, then go for it, definitely. For my add-ons, yeah, send me feedback or feature requests or bug reports or whatever. I get very, very little of that. I checked today that at least on the ESO UI page, like the last 40 messages go back to August, so that's all the stuff
yeah.
I had to deal with comment metrics, which given that between two versions usually around 100,000 people downloaded, that's or 100,000 downloads appear. That feels a bit little, but as I said, I'm trying to improve on that with enabling some Discord channel for that.
Yeah,
And
I'll brainstorm too on that end.
yeah, and towards other add-ons, yeah, well, I also rely on add-ons a lot, so also big shout out to all the other add-on content creators.
Like who? Like who? Doguban,
Well,
for sure. You said
we mentioned
Doguban's.
Ventilator, then
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
Bertram Doguban for Lazy Witchcrafter, of course, yes. I guess also Assembler Maniac and Mana Vortex for how's it called?
Oh yeah, Assembler Mania.
They took up inventory insight for inventory insight or inventory insight from ashes.
Yeah, yeah.
Very useful add-on to find the stuff wherever I put it. Wotan, of course, I have a couple of his add-ons. And all the other I didn't manage. NDS, of course, and Wheels also. He did a lot of really cool smaller tools that are really valuable in raiding. Code does very good add-ons and very good contributions to theory crafting. He writes these nice guides also on the forum, right? These are awesome. Which are obviously researched with help of the API to figure out exactly like size of meteors and kinds aegis and
right
and stuff like that, right? So
yeah.
Add-on coding, or at least coding, can help you with that as well. So definitely shout out to all the add-on creators.
For sure. And I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come onto the stream and all that. We'll definitely upload this to YouTube.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. And it was like really interesting to learn about how the development of add-ons work, how the API works, and just learning more about the people behind the add-ons that make quality of life on PC so, like, it's just such a huge difference. Like any add-on you can name that people use, including yours, like combat metrics, it's such a huge difference. It really is.
Yeah, I see that as well.
Yeah.
Also for the other add-ons.
But for those of you just tuning in or tuning out, this is Solinur from PC Europe. He is the add-on developer of combat metrics, Untaunted, Constellations, Improved Death Recount, Group Damage Share, and Pentest. He's also a reason why a lot of people transfer from console. So there you go.
I think half of it is actually the performance, to be honest.
Well, yeah, performance. FPS is pretty huge from what a console transfers told me, but also the add-ons like combat metrics.
And the endless waiting for patches.
Right.
On PC, right?
Well, I mean, you can't deny your very important role and part in our quality of life. So, I think a lot of people earlier, while we were talking, said a lot of people actually said thank you to you. So, thank you as well for me. It made my life easier. Can't deny the 3.4 million downloads, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll definitely. I'll think of something, maybe like a separate category in this Discord. Because there's already a lot of people in this Discord, and then we can like direct. We can make like that like professors list, right? Like okay, who teaches what up there in the Discord. I can make a separate one with a separate category for like add-on developers, and then if people have a bug with combat metrics, they can look at the list. Oh, there's a Solinur's add-on, and they'll just add you or something. Maybe that's that way we can more.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a category like that, I can also forward that to the other add-on devs.
Oh yeah, for
maybe
sure.
Check that out, and there might be some feedback there.
All right. But again, thank you so much, Solinur. And
yeah, thanks for having me. was also fun for me.
Yeah, it was really fun. And I think some people are going to ask you out after this. Judging from the comments earlier. But yeah, thank you. And,
yeah, I couldn't follow the chat. As I said, I'm bad at multitasking, so I can't talk and read at the same time.
But yeah, have a great rest of the day. Hopefully you get some good sleep in how many hours? 4 hours? And good luck with your physics dissertation.
I still have 3 hours or so to,
3
to
hours?
bed. Yeah, so
Alright.
So go on and fix the constellation stuff, right? And then let's see.
Okay. But yeah, thanks so much.
All right, and have a good night. Thanks everyone also in chat and the views. And
Yep.
let me know if you find anything.
Just send bug reports to Solinur. Watch people like send you bug reports for things like Alpha Gear or something.
Well, then I say that's not my problem.
Yeah.
Also, I'm using dressing room, so don't care.
Oh man, I don't know. I think Alpha Gear is a better one, in my opinion.
They are pretty much the same, I would say.
Yeah.
The Alpha Gear has this nice feature with the banking as well, which so far I don't need, but well, everyone has their favorite add-ons. That's fine.
And yours is lazy recreator. Yeah, or Dogubon's
Yes,
lazy
most
recreator.
important.
Most
thing
important? Okay.
for me now.
Well-
It's the most convenient thing, the biggest time saver. It's doing the crafting dailies is my main income, so to say. So I just depend on that. Just log in, run to the few points, and then be done with it. So I wouldn't do crafting days, and I would have to, I guess, farm or do other stuff to get to finance the rating stuff that I need, right? The potions and whatever. So that's why it's so important for me.
Okay. Yeah. Alright, man. Have a good night. And I'll see you soon about the whole thing.
Yes. Well, again, thanks for having me, and yeah, I guess.
Oh no,
Have a
I
good
should
night.
thank you for taking your time to do this. But yeah, I figured people. I mean, like I said, not really talked about who makes the add-ons and who they are, or stuff like that, and how it actually works. Because people have these misconceptions of add-ons or whatever. Like there's some people out there who think an add-on can just do a rotation for you, or like I don't know, like.
No, that's the realm of macros and
Yeah, exactly. It's
screen
just-
grabbers and stuff like
yeah.
that. That's not what add-ons can do.
And then there's some discussions about, how far can add-ons go? Like we talked about Miets and other things.
Well, if there's an opening somewhere in the API, then
Yeah.
it gives an edge. Then someone will eventually do it. But yeah, we'll have to deal with it when that happens, right? And Ce-Nex will usually deal with it as well,
For sure.
sooner or later.
Well, hopefully tomorrow's incremental fix for PC is gonna fix a lot of the issues. And then, because I saw someone earlier in chat ask about how does combat metrics work with the whole desync between light attack and skills. So hopefully that gets fixed.
Yeah. I hope for that too, because I want to get back to raiding, and I have to.
Oh, you got a
figure
raid lead. You're a
out
raid lead.
different way.
That's one thing that surprised me actually. That you're a raid lead. Oh man. Nothing will get past Solinur. It's a raid lead.
Well, I secretly hope at some point someone else will take over. It's not that I need to do it. I could use my time better.
What are you guys going
But then
for?
again, I guess it kind of brought me into connecting a bit more and then getting into Discords. And I guess that's also how I ended up in an ESOU Discord and everywhere, because I needed to collect more information for my raid. I felt that I had this responsibility.
Alright. Yeah. Thank you again so much. For not just for the podcast, but also for the add-ons. I think is what
Well,
I'm saying right now.
I'm glad that it's useful. I'm a bit proud of it, as I said, and
Yep.
it's a good thing.
All right, have a good rest of the evening, Solinur. Thanks again.
Yeah, you too.
All right, guys.
Good night.
Good night. Or gute Nacht, as they say.
Gute Nacht.
Gute Nacht, gute Nacht.